Nepal government declares two-day public holiday starting April 6, decides on electric vehicle push and new academic session. Dol Prasad Aryal sworn in as Nepal's new House Speaker. Elected unopposed, Aryal assumes office today. Nepal shuts down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites. Authorities warn of strict action as part of governance reform drive. Government rolls out 100-day transport safety plan. Various safety features to boost passenger security amid rising fuel cost. U.S. airman rescued after F-15 downed by Iran. Crisis ends for Trump amid rising Strait of Hormuz tensions. And FIFA AFC warn UNFA to hold elections within 7 days. Suspension could bar Nepal from international football and funding access. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World Primetime News, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal's government has announced that Saturdays and Sundays will be declared public holidays starting tomorrow, April 6, for all government offices and educational institutions. In the meeting of Council of Ministers, officials also approved concessional loans from the Asian Development Bank and World Bank totaling over $185 million to support the digital Nepal transformation and sustainable and inclusive finance projects. The government has approved an organization and management survey of all ministries, commissions and subordinate bodies to improve administrative efficiency. Other key decisions include accepting the resignation of RSS Executive Chairman Dharmendra Jha and initiating plans to convert diesel and petrol vehicles to electric. Education authorities confirmed that the new academic session will commence from April 28, signaling a renewed focus on modernization and sustainability in both governance and education.
Petroleum आपूर्तिमा उत्पन्न असहजताका कारण 82 चैत 23 गतेबाट लागू हुने गरी सरकारी कार्यालय तथा सम्पूर्ण शैक्षिक संस्थाहरूमा शनिबार र आइतबार बिदा दिने तथा शैक्षिक संस्था बाहेक उल्लेखित कार्यालयहरूको कार्यालय समय 9 देखि 5 बजे कायम गर्ने।
Dol Prasad Aryal has been sworn in as the new Speaker of Nepal's House of Representatives. Aryal took the oath of office and secrecy from President Ramchandra Paudel at the Presidential Office, Sheetal Niwas. Aryal, a sitting member of the House, was elected unopposed as the 10th Speaker after receiving a single nomination supported by parliamentarians Rabi Lamechhane, Sobita Gautam, Swarnim Wagle and Sunil Lamsal. The election was formally announced by senior member Arjun Narsingh Kesi, who presided over the House meeting. Following the ceremony, Speaker Aryal assumed office at the Federal Parliament Secretariat in Singadarbar, where he was welcomed by Secretary Padam Prasad Pandey and other top officials. Aryal's election marks a smooth transition in the leadership of Nepal's lower house amid the ongoing parliamentary reforms. Nepal Communist Party lawmaker Leela Kumari Bhandari has officially filed her candidacy for the post of Vice Chairperson of Nepal's National Assembly. The proposal was registered today according to the Federal Parliament Secretariat's work schedule. Her nomination was proposed by UML lawmaker Prem Prasad Dangal and seconded by lawmakers from multiple parties, including Krishna Bahadur Rukaya of Nepali Congress, Madan Kumari Shah of the Nepali Communist Party, and Pooja Chaudhary of the Janata Samajwadi Party. Bhandari's candidacy reflects a cross-party endorsement, signaling broad political support for her bid. The election process for the Vice Chairperson position will follow parliamentary procedures in the coming weeks. Nepal has shut down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites as a part of the government's governance reform agenda, according to the Nepal Telecommunications Authority. The action, coordinated with the internet service providers, comes after the cabinet approved a 100-point reform plan on March 27, which mandates the closure of betting platforms within 24 hours. In the past week alone, the authority received over 50 complaints about online betting, all of which have been addressed. Under Nepal's National Penal Code, violators of betting laws face up to 1 year in prison and fines up to 10,000 Nepali rupees. Authorities have warned of strict enforcement against illegal gambling operations and urged the public to report suspicious apps or websites. We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now on to other updates. The government's 100-day action plan has placed transport safety at the forefront, introducing measures such as CCTV installation in public vehicles, women-only blue bus services, and SOS features in ride-sharing apps to enhance passenger security. The reforms come as rising fuel prices fuel fresh demands from transport operators for fare revisions, underscoring tensions between affordability and safety upgrades. Sabika Shrestha sheds light on this issue.
The government has prioritized transport sector reforms under its 100-day action plan, focusing on safety, digital monitoring, and gender-inclusive mobility. The roadmap includes mandatory installation of CCTV and dashboard cameras in public vehicles, introduction of women-only blue bus services, and integration of SOS features in ride-sharing apps to enhance passenger security. Authorities say these measures aim to modernize transport while ensuring accountability and real-time emergency response. Ramhari Pokhrel, spokesperson at the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport, said the priority is the safety and security of riders and the ministry is committed to implement the decision within the deadline.
Safety and security is the main issue. According to the 100 days action plan, the deadline for blue bus operation is given to us 90 days. We will implement it before the 90 days. We are planning and regarding the CCTV and SOS button etc. That the deadline is given to us in 30 days. We are planning to complete this action before 30 days.
The government has set April 25th deadline for the reformative measures. However, the reforms come amid rising fuel prices linked to ongoing tensions in the Middle East, increasing pressure on transport operators. The transport entrepreneurs have begun demanding fare adjustments, citing higher operational costs. Commuters, meanwhile, are elated, stating that safety comes first, not only for ladies but all.
राम्रै कुरा हो, हुन त राम्रै कुरा हो, तर महिलाको लागि मात्र किन? यो देशको नागरिक हामी हैनौं, हामी पनि यो देशको नागरिक हो. हाम्रो लागि के सुविधा? हामी भोट बैंक मात्र बन्ने त? उहाँको लागि गाडी ठीक छ, उहाँले प्राइभेट के भन्छ नीलो बस दियो हैन, गर्ल्सको लागि, बोयजको लागि के? यतिकै हैन, हामी जहिले पनि बेरोजगार मात्र बस्ने होइन नि.
Though abiding by the government decision directly pertains to the operators, public transportation drivers are also equally responsible.
भाडा त अब बढ्नु पर्ने हो, बढा हैन के भन्नु त खै यस्तै अब चलिरहन्छ. भाडा बढाइदिए त हुन्थ्यो. अब त्यो अहिले साहुलाई पनि दिनु सकेको छैन, तेल हाल्नै धौधौ भइरहेछ अहिले यो स्थितिमा। सिसी क्यामेरा त कम्पनीले हाल्ने हो, हाल्ने नहाल्ने समितिको कुरा हो। अब मान्छे भनेको त अब सिटफुल मात्र भन्ने त असम्भव हुन्छ। अब स्ट्याम्पतिर त जसरी नै मान्छे उभिहाल्छ, त्यो त असम्भव कुरा हो।
The government's plan signals a push towards safer and more inclusive public transport, though challenges remain in execution and cost management. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
The Kali Gandaki River, home to the sacred Shaligram stones and of deep religious significance, is facing severe pollution due to plastic waste from nearby markets and riverside settlements. For the past 2 years, youth activists from the Gandaki River Basin have been running a campaign to make the river plastic-free, with parts of the river showing signs of improvement. The campaign has also raised local awareness about waste management and the importance of preserving the river's biodiversity. Experts stress that long-term protection of the Kali Gandaki will require strong policies and coordinated investment from local, provincial and federal governments. Activists remain committed to safeguarding the river's purity for the future generations. After decades of living without official documentation, Istram Praja and his wife, members of the Chepang community in Thading, have finally received their citizenship certificates. The couple had been living in a cave near the forest of Maibang for 2 generations and were deprived of government social security benefits due to lack of citizenship. Officials from the District Administration Office delivered the documents at their home, enabling them to now apply for national identity cards and social security allowances. Although entitled to citizenship by descent, they remained undocumented until now, highlighting long-standing challenges faced by marginalized communities. Local authorities have promised to assist the family in enrolling in social welfare programs. Nepal's Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has resumed farmer registration after a 5-month gap, urging farmers to register at their local offices. Registered farmers receive identity cards and access to services, subsidies, chemical fertilizers, seeds and other support. The program, coordinated with local authorities nationwide, aims to verify genuine farmers and collect detailed data on land holdings, crop production and income. According to the 2078 agricultural census, 2.3 million out of 4.1 million farmers have been enlisted so far. Farmers are categorized into 4 groups: subsistence, small, medium and large, based on land size, income and production levels to better target support and resources. Now we have updates from the international arena after the short break. The US government has said it has rescued an airman caught behind enemy lines after Iran shot down its F-15 fighter jet early on Sunday, resolving a crisis for President Donald Trump, with the war on Iran in its 6th week. In a message posted on his Truth Social platform, Trump said that the second crew member from the American F-15 fighter jet that crashed inside Iran is safe and sound following a search and rescue operation. The injured airman was the second of the 2 crew members from the warplane. Iran said on Friday it had brought down with its air defenses, triggering a high-profile search by both Tehran and the United States. Trump and Israel stepped up pressure on Saturday for Iran to open the strait, which usually carries about a fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas, or face attacks on energy facilities. Iran's military, meanwhile, has said that it destroyed 3 U.S. aircraft involved in a search operation for a crew member of a downed American fighter jet. Meanwhile, government ministry buildings in Kuwait City have been closed, with staff ordered to work remotely and public visits suspended following drone strikes reportedly launched from Iran. According to the Kuwait Ministry of Finance, the attacks caused significant damage to several government facilities. Authorities confirmed that there were no casualties or injuries reported in the incidents. Officials said investigations are ongoing to assess the full extent of the damage and to strengthen defenses against future drone threats. The strikes represent a rare escalation of regional tensions, prompting increased security measures around government installations and raising concerns over the potential for further cross-border attacks. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says she discussed how to help stop the escalation as she concluded a visit to the Gulf in which she became the first European Union or NATO leader to visit the region since the start of the conflict with Iran. During the trip, Meloni visited Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, saying she aimed to bolster Italy's energy security and strategic ties.
Fase così difficile essere presente nei luoghi dove si decide una parte fondamentale della nostra sicurezza e anche del nostro futuro economico. Questa missione è la prima di un leader europeo nel Golfo dall'inizio di questa nuova fase del conflitto, ma chiaramente non è una visita semplicemente simbolica.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that his country will expand its security cooperation with Turkey. Zelensky announced after meeting Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul that the two sides had taken new steps in security cooperation and that teams would soon finalize the details. According to the Ukrainian president, this cooperation will particularly include areas such as expertise, technology and Ukraine's wartime experience to support Turkey. Erdogan also said at the meeting that Turkey will continue to support peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. He also stressed that Turkey attaches great importance to maritime security in the Black Sea and to energy supply. The meeting comes as Ukraine has recently signed security cooperation agreements with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, and is in similar talks and similar arrangements with other Middle Eastern countries. Hundreds of demonstrators marched through Paris in a march for a noisy spring, protesting the decline of birds and insects and the widespread use of pesticides. Organized as a musical demonstration, the event aimed to draw attention to what environmental groups describe as a growing ecological and public health crisis. Leo Tibers called the collapse of wildlife populations one of the greatest health and environmental scandals of our time, citing its broader impact on ecosystems and human well-being. The protest reflects increasing concern in France and across Europe over pesticide use, biodiversity laws, and the urgent need for stronger environmental protections. Let's take a short breather here. We shall be back with more from the international. Around 2,000 residents in San Salvador have created a huge 1,070-meter-long colored carpet made of dyed salt for the Good Friday funeral procession, in what organizers describe as the largest installation of its kind in Central America. Known as the Mega Carpet of San Salvador, the artwork was constructed using approximately 800 quintals of salt carefully dyed in more than 150 different colors. The intricate display is designed to be walked over during the religious procession, a central tradition of Holy Week observances in the predominantly Catholic country. According to Persio Medina, coordinator at the Secretariat of Culture of the Capital District, the scale and coordination involved making it a record-setting cultural event for the region. Authorities say the initiative highlights both religious devotion and community participation, while also drawing local and international visitors, reinforcing the cultural significance of Holy Week celebrations across El Salvador. Amid the ongoing U.S.-Israeli war with Iran, Gulf oil producers are shifting oil flows to pipelines and tanker trucks that bypass the Strait of Hormuz, a key choke point for global energy supplies. The Strait of Hormuz, which once saw around 130 vessels passing daily, now has approximately 20,000 seafarers stranded aboard 2,000 ships in its waters, according to the International Maritime Organization. Lloyd's List Intelligence, a maritime data and intelligence company, revealed that only 292 ships transited the strait between February 28 and March 31st, with 71% of them being either owned or affiliated with Iran. Saudi Arabia is maximizing the use of the East-West pipeline, which has a capacity of nearly 7 million barrels per day, and allows the country's oil exports to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Also known as the Petrol Line, the over 1,200 kilometers long pipeline was originally built in the 1980s and terminates at the Yanbu port in the Red Sea. A number of tanker fleets have been relocated to the Yanbu port for oil loading, providing a vital lifeline for global oil supply. The daily crude oil exports through Yanbu have reached approximately 5 million barrels, and Saudi Arabia also exports between 700,000 and 900,000 barrels of refined oil per day. The Artemis 2 astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen are now closer to the Moon than to Earth. Manager for NASA's Space Launch System program, John Honeycutt, said that the astronauts have captured an image of previously unseen features on the Moon's surface, highlighting that the far left of the photograph showed areas never before observed by human eyes.
As you heard yesterday, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy are now closer to the Moon than they are to Earth. I can tell you they've been incredibly busy. I know you've been watching coverage of the mission. I think you'll agree. It looks like they're really enjoying their work, and I can tell that in their voice. So they took this image yesterday. On the far left, you can see features of the Moon that have never been seen by human eyes. Until yesterday, only robotic imagers have seen this region of the Moon.
Springtime flower viewing tours are emerging as a major attraction across China ahead of this year's Qingming Festival, with cities and rural destinations rolling out cultural performances, interactive travel services, and countryside experiences to lure visitors and boost the tourism economy. Falling on April 5 this year, the Qingming Festival, or Tomb Sweeping Day, is a traditional Chinese festival for honoring the deceased and paying tributes to ancestors. The 3-day holiday also provides a short break for Chinese citizens to enjoy outdoor activities and sightseeing in pleasant springtime temperatures. In North China's Tianjin municipality, both locals and tourists from other parts of the country have gathered for a begonia flower festival running till April 12, which features 123 performances throughout the event. Officials have also introduced new efforts to integrate culture, tourism, and commerce. Time now for Sports Update. International Federation of Association Football FIFA and Asian Football Confederation AFC have warned that if the election of the All Nepali Football Association ANFA is not held within 7 days, suspension proceedings will be initiated. FIFA and the AFC sent a joint letter to ANFA General Secretary Kiran Rai, instructing him to restart and finalize the election process within 7 days of receiving the letter. They warned that failure to conduct the election within the stipulated time frame would trigger suspension procedures. The letter also stated that if ANFA is suspended by FIFA, the association could be barred from participating in international competitions, accessing FIFA and AFC development funds, and maintaining sporting contacts with other member associations. Earlier, the National Sports Council had suspended ANFA for 3 months on March 26, citing that the association was attempting to hold elections without proper approval. Lumbini Province defeated Nepal Police Club by 50 runs in a high-scoring match of the ongoing PM Cup, posting 256 runs before restricting the Police Club to 206 in 42.5 overs. In another encounter, Sudur Paschim Province crushed Bagmati Province by 163 runs, scoring 209 runs and dismissing Bagmati for just 46 in 11.2 overs. The results highlight the dominance of provincial teams in this year's tournament and the high level of competitive cricket in Nepal. Players from Lumbini and Sudur Paschim displayed aggressive batting and disciplined bowling to secure comfortable wins. The PM Cup continues to provide a platform for emerging talent and competitive cricket across the country. University of Cambridge secured a 4th consecutive victory over University of Oxford in the 171st The Boat Race held on River Thames in London. The latest result extends Cambridge's dominance in the historic contest, marking their 7th win in the last 8 editions of the race, one of the oldest sporting rivalries dating back to 1829. Race officials noted particularly challenging conditions on the tideway course, with strong currents and difficult weather impacting performance. Cambridge captain Noah Moole described them as among the toughest in recent years, saying the victory under such circumstances made the result especially significant. The annual race continues to draw global attention, showcasing elite rowing talent and preserving a long-standing sporting tradition between the two institutions. And before we sign out, here are the reminder of our top stories. Nepal government declares 2-day public holiday starting April 6, decides on electric vehicle push and new academic session. Dol Prasad Aryal sworn in as Nepal's new House Speaker, elected unopposed. Aryal assumes office today. Nepal shuts down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites. Authorities warn of strict action as part of governance reform drive. Government rolls out 100-day transport safety plan. Various safety features to boost passenger security amid rising fuel cost. U.S. airman rescued after F-15 downed by Iran. Crisis ends for Trump amid rising Strait of Hormuz tensions. And FIFA AFC warned ANFA to hold elections within 7 days. Suspension could bar Nepal from international football and funding access. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the major news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's direction. This week's episode includes a bold 100-point reform plan and 100-day governance push to transform public services and fight corruption. A crackdown on online betting as concerns grows over youth and social impact. A political earthquake where former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak face custody after a damning investigation. A new economic agenda aiming to overhaul investment laws, separation of lawmakers under intense public scrutiny. Reform, accountability and a nation demanding change. The government has officially launched an expansive 100-point action plan marking a significant move toward governance reform with strictly allotted timelines for its most critical reforms. This wide-ranging roadmap aims to modernize the state apparatus through digital integration and enhance accountability. While the plan is being held as a bold vision for a new governance era, analysts are closely observing how these ambitious targets will navigate long-standing systemic and structural hurdles. Here's the report.
The government's 100-item reform agenda has officially shifted into high gear, establishing a clear results-based framework for public administration. By assigning specific time-bound targets to each major action point, the administration aims to replace traditional bureaucratic lag with a culture of immediate delivery.
Very recently, the government have introduced with 100 points the reform agenda. Seems very positive. If we introduce the digital dashboard or digital service delivery system, definitely the corruption will be reduced. The middle person will be discouraged. It means the faceless bureaucracy will introduce. Basically, for this purpose, we have to look the internet access services to all the Nepalese people. Till our data will show about 75% of the population have the internet service. The remaining people doesn't have the service. Thus, we should reduce the price cost of the internet service. On the other hand, all citizens should have a knowledge, digital literacy to cope the government public service delivery.
At the forefront of this tiered timeline is a 100-day commitment to revolutionize document processing. The plan mandates that essential services including passports, citizenship certificates, and driving licenses transition to a home delivery model within the initial window. The reform approved by the cabinet aims to eliminate middlemen and reduce the need for repeated visits to government offices. To meet these deadlines, the national postal system is undergoing a strategic evolution into a specialized government-operated courier service.
Largely our people, normal people, the ordinary citizens, they aren't very familiar with the digitized system. Thus, maybe there is some lacuna, there is a gap between the government respiration as the ordinary citizens' efficiency to comply with the digitization system. Thus, if government will introduce the digital literacy program to the people at large through the municipality, through the ward system, or government will introduce some cyber center in all the small village and towns, probably we can cope within a few years. But in the first day, probably all people cannot comply with the digitization system.
This logistical pivot is designed to ensure that official documents are not only processed but delivered in a faceless and trackable manner, aligning with modern governance standards. The reform package also includes wider digital integration. Citizens will be able to apply for services such as passports, police reports, and driving licenses online, primarily through mobile platforms like the Nagarik app within a 45-day implementation window. Additionally, documents like citizenship certificates and passports will be accessible from any district administration office, removing geographic barriers that have long burdened service seekers. For years, citizens have complained about delays, inefficiency, and reliance on intermediaries in accessing basic services. Studies on Nepal's public service delivery point to systemic issues such as bureaucratic inefficiency, weak implementation, and poor service behavior as major obstacles.
एरियामा पुर्याउन त सक्यो भने कति है धन विकट ठाउँहरुमा पुर्याउन त्यो नीति चाहिँ राम्रो हो लागू गर्न चाहिँ अलि प्रभावकारी हुन्छ कि हुन्न त्यो चाहिँ अब हेरौं कस्तो हुन्छ सरकारी कामहरु एक त यसै ढिला हुन्छ एक नम्बर कोठाबाट 6 नम्बरमा जाऊ 6 नम्बरबाट 10 नम्बरमा जाऊ सारै झ्या हुन्छ त्यो भन्दा अब यो नीति चाहिँ राम्रो हो लागू गर्न चाहिँ कसरी कतिको सक्छ भन्ने कुरा हो.
The government's push to digitize services and introduce home delivery appears to directly respond to these grievances. By reducing the need for physical interaction and standardizing timelines, the government hopes to foster a more efficient and user-friendly environment. While the goals are undeniably high, the success of the 100-point plan will serve as a litmus test for the state's capacity for rapid transformation. As the countdown begins, all eyes are on the bureaucracy to see if it can rise to meet this ambitious new standard of governance.
The newly elected government has unveiled a 100-point reform action plan following its first cabinet meeting at Singhadarwar. The roadmap targets administrative clusters, prioritizing digital service delivery, anti-corruption measures, and time-bound social welfare projects. Key milestones include the removal of political groups from campuses within 60 days and the launch of province-wide blue bus services for women within 100 days. Subeksha Razak explores more.
In its very first cabinet decisions, the newly formed government has laid out an ambitious 100-point action plan positioned as a national to-do list to modernize governance, strengthen accountability, and simplify everyday life. Section A. At the political level, the government has committed to initiating dialogue on constitutional and electoral reforms, while also announcing a high-level probe into the September protest-related incidents within a week. It has further pledged to ensure that recommendations from past commissions are translated into action within fixed timelines. Section B. Administrative reform, reconstructing and austerity. On administrative reform, the focus is on downsizing and efficiency. The cabinet proposes to limit the number of ministries to 17, reduce bureaucratic layers. In decision-making, removing political party unions from the civil service and introduce performance-based evaluation across the civil service. Party-affiliated structures within state institutions are also set to be removed. Section C. For citizens, the plan signals changes in how public services are delivered. The government says it will establish extended hour service centers, introduce a round-the-clock grievance system, and enforce time-bound delivery of essential documents such as passport and licenses. Home delivery of official documents is also under consideration. Section D. Digital governance, data governance and communication. A significant portion of the reform agenda centers on digital governance. This includes app-based public services, identity verification, and the creation of an integrated national data system to eliminate repetitive paperwork. New legislation on data protection and information technology is expected within the next 2 months. Section E. Good governance, transparency and corruption control. On governance and accountability, the plan outlines stricter anti-corruption measures. A high-level mechanism has been proposed to investigate the assets of public officials alongside digital systems to track financial activity and flag irregularities. The government has also indicated safeguards for whistleblowers. Section F. Public procurement and project management reform. Public procurement and infrastructure development are another key focus. The government plans to digitize project tracking, fast-track approvals for major infrastructure, and intervene directly in projects where contractors repeatedly fail to deliver. Section Z. Investment, industry, private sector promotion and tourism. In the economic sector, the reform package aims to improve the investment climate. Measures include faster business registration, time-bound approvals for large projects, and a unified platform to manage regulatory processes. Support mechanisms for small and medium enterprises have also been proposed. Section H. Energy and water resources. Sector-specific commitments extend to energy, revenue, and natural resources. These include plans to expand electricity exports, introduce digital tax systems, and consolidate dormant public funds for development use. Section I. Revenue reform. Sector-specific commitments extend to energy, revenue, and natural resources. These include plans to expand electricity exports, introduce digital tax system, and consolidate dormant public funds for development use. Section J. Health, education and human development. In social sectors, the government has announced provisions for free hospital beds for low-income groups, affordable medicine programs, and reforms in education, including efforts to depoliticize campuses and ensure timely publication of results. Section K. Agriculture, land and infrastructure. Agriculture and land reform also feature prominently. The plan includes guaranteed minimum prices for key crops, time-bound payments to farmers, and programs to provide land or housing to landless families. Section L. Other strategic and social security decisions. Additional measures include women-focused public transport services, enhanced safety mechanisms, and steps to address financial irregularities in cooperative institutions. Taken together, the 100-point agenda outlines a broad and time-bound policy direction. Its impact, however, will depend on implementation on the months ahead. The government has set clear timelines for many of these commitments, placing early focus on delivery as it begins its term.
Nepal has launched a sweeping crackdown on online betting, warning that a surge in digital gambling among young people is fueling debt, mental stress, and family conflict. Authorities say all illegal betting apps will be blocked as part of a broader effort to regulate the sector, but concerns remain over enforcement, with users potentially bypassing restrictions through VPNs and new platforms. Aprila Gising Lama along with Samriddhi Karki brings more.
The government says the rapid rise of online betting among young people is creating serious financial and social problems, with many falling into debt. In response, authorities have stepped up efforts to crack down on illegal betting conducted through digital platforms. Officials say no such apps will be allowed to operate within Nepal. They add that this move is not just about banning apps, but part of a broader effort to regulate and curb unlawful betting activities across the country. It also has been stressed online betting leads to mental stress, family conflicts, and other related problems.
नेपाल सरकार सञ्चार तथा सूचना प्रविधि मन्त्रालयबाट नेपाल दूरसञ्चार प्राधिकरणलाई पत्र प्राप्त भइसकेको र त्यो तत्काल प्राप्त हुने बित्तिकै नेपाल दूरसञ्चार प्राधिकरणले त्यस्ता सट्टेबाजी एप र त्योसँग जोडिएका जुन वेबसाइटहरू छन् त्यो चाहिँ तत्काल बन्द गरेर त्यसको जानकारी नेपाल दूरसञ्चार प्राधिकरणलाई गराउनको लागि सम्बन्धित सबै मोबाइल सेवा प्रदायक र इन्टरनेट सेवा प्रदायकलाई हामीले निर्देशन अर्थात् पत्रचार गरिसकेको अवस्था हो।
The Nepal Telecommunications Authority has already issued directives to all mobile service providers and internet service providers regarding this matter. The authority has stated it will continue to closely monitor the situation and work in coordination with service providers to ensure effective implementation of the measures.
सूचना प्रविधि डाइनामिक सेक्टर हो। यसमा विभिन्न खाले चाहिँ टेक्निकहरू प्रयोग गरेर VPN लगायतका अरू टेक्निक पनि प्रयोग गरेर त्यस्ता बन्द गर्नलाई निर्देशन जारी गरेका एपहरू चल्न सक्ने भएनाले हामीले यसमा हाम्रा सेवा प्रदायकसँग भएको प्रविधि के छ त्यसलाई पनि हेरेर सेवा प्रदायकसँग क्लोज कोअर्डिनेसन गरेर त्यस्ता गैरकानुनी एपहरूलाई अर्थात् वेबसाइटलाई तत्काल चाहिँ बन्द गर्नलाई सेवा प्रदायकलाई मार्फत हामी चाहिँ कार्यान्वयनमा जान्छौँ।
However, challenges still remain for the Nepal Telecommunications Authority. There are ongoing concerns that access could continue through VPNs or new domains, keeping the risk alive. It also remains unclear whether enforcement will be sustained over the long term or weaken after the initial crackdown.
The spotlight now turns to the courts. Former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak are in custody as Nepal begins what could be a landmark case on political and security accountability during civil unrest. Aprila Gising Lama brings more in this report.
Former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak have been taken into custody over their alleged role in protest-related deaths. The arrests come after the first cabinet meeting of the newly elected government decided to act on the findings of a judicial commission led by former Justice Gauri Bahadur Karki. The inquiry examined the deadly Zenzi protest of September where multiple demonstrators were killed. The Commission has recommended a criminal investigation into senior political and security officials, citing possible negligence in the use of force during the protests. Police say the arrests were carried out under an urgent warrant provision, typically used when there is a risk of evasion or evidence being compromised. A court must now decide whether to uphold that warrant. If it does, investigators can seek to hold the two men in custody while building a case. If not, they will be released, although the investigation will continue. While the government says it is acting on the rule of law, legal experts say a commission's report alone cannot be treated as proof of criminal guilt. Any prosecution will depend on whether investigators can establish individual responsibility. Lawyers for the former officials are expected to challenge both the necessity of the arrests and the strength of the allegations. The report has also implicated senior security officials, raising broader questions about command responsibility and the use of force during civil unrest. For now, the focus shifts to the courts. Both the former Prime Minister and Home Minister are scheduled to be presented before the District Court, where the next steps will determine whether this becomes a landmark accountability case or a prolonged legal and political battle.
A commission investigating the September 8-9 incidents has found serious negligence by top officials. The report recommends prosecuting former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak and other senior officials, triggering legal action that is now underway. Smithu Gising Tamang brings more in this report.
The three-member inquiry, led by former Special Court Judge Gauri Bahadur Karki, was constituted on September 21 by the interim government following the resignation of the then Prime Minister. According to the report, police used force against a group of protesters attempting to enter the parliament premises on September 8th. The commission states that 17 people died on the day, while 12 others who were injured later died during treatment, bringing the total number of deaths on the day linked to the incident to 37. The commission concludes that while there was no established intent to kill, serious negligence and failure of duty on the part of those in authority contributed to the loss of life. Based on these findings, the report recommends that former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak, and then Inspector General of Police Chandra Kuber Khapung be investigated and prosecuted under sections 181 and 182 of the Criminal Code, which relate to negligence leading to death.
प्रदर्शनका क्रममा भएको घटनाको जाँचबुझ गर्न गौरी बहादुर कार्कीको अध्यक्षतामा गठित आयोगले नेपाल सरकार समक्ष पेश गरेका प्रतिवेदन तत्काल कार्यान्वयन गर्न देहाय बमोजिम गर्ने उल्लेखित आयोगले सिफारिस गरेका व्यक्ति र निकाय मध्ये सुरक्षा संयन्त्रको हकमा अध्ययन समिति गठन गरी सो समितिले पेश गर्ने सिफारिस बमोजिम गर्ने अन्यका हकमा सो आयोगले गरेको सिफारिसलाई तत्काल कार्यान्वयन गर्न सम्बन्धित निकायलाई निर्देशन गर्ने.
If proven in court, these provisions carry a maximum sentence of up to 10 years imprisonment. The report further recommends action under Section 182 against other senior officials, including then Home Secretary Gokarna Mani Dawadi, Armed Police Force Chief Raju Aryal, National Investigation Department Head Hutraj Thapa, and Kathmandu's Chief District Officer Chabi Rizal. It also notes that despite prior indications of a deteriorating security situation, effective measures were not taken to prevent escalation, raising questions about decision-making and command responsibility. The government has initiated arrests based on Commission's recommendations now, which for it serves as a basis for further legal proceedings.
Within hours of taking office, Nepal's new Finance Minister Swarnim Wagle has unveiled an ambitious reform agenda targeting decades-old laws and promising to overhaul the country's investment climate. Diksha Avasti brings an in-depth coverage.
Newly appointed Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle has moved swiftly, announcing plans to scrap 15 existing laws and dissolve the Department of Revenue Investigation. The proposals are based on recommendations from a high-level economic reform commission led by Rameswar Prasad Khanal. The government says many of these laws, some dating back to the 1950s, have long created regulatory bottlenecks and discouraged investment. Among those targeted are laws governing import-export controls, revenue leakages, black marketing, and restrictions on overseas investment, as well as legacy legislation related to land ownership and administrative procedures. Officials argue that removing outdated provisions could simplify doing businesses and align Nepal's legal framework with a more open market-oriented economy. But the announcement also raises questions about oversight, particularly with the planned dissolution of the Department of Revenue Investigation, a body tasked with probing financial irregularities. Private sector representatives have cautiously welcomed the move, saying regulatory clarity is long overdue, but stress that implementation and institutional accountability will be key to restoring investor confidence. The Finance Ministry has also signaled a push toward paperless governance and greater transparency in public financial systems. Economists say such reforms, if effectively executed, could help reduce bureaucratic delays, improve compliance, and encourage both domestic and foreign investment.
खारेज गर्ने भनेकै हैन असान्दर्भिक हो हैन अथवा असान्दर्भिक मात्रै हैन त्यसले चाहिँ त्यो सन्दर्भ भएको तर कस्ट बढाइदिएको पनि त हुन सक्छ नि हैन हामीले त इफिसिएन्ट ल्याउने हो नि एउटा सन्दर्भ चाहिँ हैन सन्दर्भ के हुन्छ भन्दा कतिपय हाम्रो कानुनहरु कस्तो रहेछ भने कन्ट्रोल मेकानिजम बनाएका छन् के कन्ट्रोलको चाहिँ पर्सपेक्टिभबाट बनाया हुनाले त्यो सन्दर्भ चाहिँ त्यो हिजोको कन्ट्रोल थियो आजको कन्ट्रोल नहुन सक्छ हैन र दोस्रो सबैभन्दा हाम्रो चाहिँ कमजोरी भनेको चाहिँ गभर्नमेन्ट सिस्टम के रहेछ भने कानुनलाई कार्यान्वयन गर्ने कमजोरी छ के
In a historic political shift, rapper turned politician Balendra Shah has been sworn in as Nepal's 43rd Prime Minister, securing a supermajority in Nepal 5's House of Representatives elections. A 15-member Council of Ministers also has been formed under the leadership of the newly appointed Prime Minister.
And for the first time, women constitute 33% of the Council of Ministers, underscoring the government's commitment to inclusive governance. Bhavna Kesi brings a report on the swearing-in ceremony and formation of the new government.
President Ramchandra Paudel administered the oath of office and secrecy to Prime Minister Balendra Shah, who was appointed earlier in the day under Article 76(1) of the Constitution of Nepal. Saha, a senior leader of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, was unanimously elected as the party's parliamentary leader a day earlier, paving the way for his appointment as the Prime Minister. The ceremony was attended by Vice President Rao Shahai Prasad Yadav, outgoing Prime Minister Sushila Karki, Chief Justice Prakash Man Singh Raut, National Assembly Chairperson Narayan Prasad Dahal, as well as former Prime Ministers, senior government officials, heads of constitutional bodies, and members of the diplomatic agencies. Alongside the Prime Minister, a 15-member Council of Ministers was also sworn in. Dr. Swarnim Wagle took oath as the Minister for Finance, Sudan Gurung as the Minister for Home Affairs, Shishir Khanal as the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Sunil Lamsal as the Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport and Minister for Urban Development, Biraj Bhakta Shrestha as the Minister for Energy, Water Resources and Irrigation, Khadagraj Paudel as the Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, and Susmit Pokhrel as the Minister for Education, Science and Technology and Minister for Sports. Similarly, Nisha Mehta took oath as the Minister for Health and Population and Minister for Water Supply, Dr. Bikram Timil Sinha as the Minister for Communications and Information Technology, Pratibha Rawal as the Minister for Federal Affairs and General Administration and Minister for Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation, Shovita Gautam as the Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, Geeta Chaudhary as the Minister for Agriculture and Livestock Development and Minister for Forest and Environment, Dr. Deepak Shah as the Minister for Labour, Employment and Social Security, and Sita Badi as the Minister for Women, Children and Senior Citizens. Prime Minister Shah has retained the Defence Ministry as well as the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies under his leadership. Meanwhile, the newly formed Council of Ministers has reached a historic milestone, with women securing 33% representation, occupying 5 of the 15 seats in the cabinet. This representation reflects implementation of inclusive policy adopted by the state, demonstrating a deliberate commitment to promote equitable participation. The ceremony concluded with a sense of anticipation as the new leadership takes charge, signaling a new chapter in Nepal's political landscape.
That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with other major highlights of the week. Thank you for watching NTV World.
We have Jaco du Toit with us, the UNESCO representative to Nepal. He has traveled across our sites, met our makers, and seen the heart behind our culture. Today we get into what he has discovered about Nepal along the way. So Jaco, you've been here for 6 months in Nepal, right?
That's correct.
Yes. So would you like to share to our audience where have you been and what have you seen in Nepal?
I've discovered a very diverse country, from its mountains, the Himalayas, extraordinary views on what these mountains represent, to the Terai, the flatlands, and how diverse the natural beauty is, and also the warmth of people. I think of Chitwan. I met some young digital creators that want to tell a real story about what Nepal is. I think of members of a UNESCO club that wants to use virtual reality to reflect the cultural diversity of Mustang. So it's been quite a journey in order to meet people, see different landscapes and different aspects of your beautiful country.
So you've been to Chitwan as well?
Yes, Chitwan was, I have to say, one of my favorite places. It's, of course, a natural World Heritage Site with such varieties of species in terms of plants, in terms of birds, in terms of animals. And I think it's really worth making sure that such a beautiful place is preserved and that the communities that live around it can also fully take advantage of this great beauty of the site.
From the UNESCO lens, is there something in our policy that you would change for the younger generation?
One element I think that could be of interest is specifically related to the cultural industries that are not recognized as such yet. There's a UNESCO convention on cultural expression and that address questions related to cultural industries. And I think by also adhering to this convention, cultural policies can not only focus on the great cultural heritage, but also on the cultural industries and its role to generate jobs, its role to also preserve what this country has to say. So I think that is one element that UNESCO can assist the country in moving forward. In the field of education, there are huge demands in order to update content, curricula, help for teachers. And I think here we have a recommendation on open education resources where openly licensed educational materials can be easily adapted in different languages, in accessible formats. And I think this is another area where UNESCO's help could really make a difference on the ground.
So from what you've seen on the ground, how can these crafts or the communities that work on these crafts can benefit financially and even culturally? What do you think?
I think they can benefit from it if it's acknowledged as a sector per se, if there's access to markets. And I think more and more young people turn also to technology in order to see how they could access larger markets. I think if there are also standards and opportunities to standardize some of the products so that when it comes to export or selling it, that it adhere to some international standards is another very important field. And there are still lacks of skills. If you look at the traditional craftsmen or craftswomen, they do not necessarily have the skills to sell their products. They know how to make it, but not necessarily how to sell it, how to market it, how to budget and to manage an enterprise. So I think these skill sets and enlarging also the skill sets of those working in this field are all fields that that are necessary in order to really take full advantage of this field.
Yeah. So is there a community that you would like to spotlight today that could flourish from culture and these crafts economically and culturally with their heritage being preserved?
Recently, I think 2 weeks ago, UNESCO reached out to a community in Tame where we help them to document their intangible heritage.
Right.
And I think these women, men, and young people that see that after the glove outburst. People looked at the environment but not at their culture. And they want to preserve it. They want this also to revive as their natural environment. The cultural environment should also revive. And I think these are people that believe in their culture, that feel proud of their culture. And this is an example, I think, of communities that really are examples of people that, through resilience and working with different partners, really feel that they could preserve and make known their rich cultural expressions.
Are there any obstacles or challenges that you've had to face, or UNESCO as a whole have to face here in Nepal or even outside of Nepal?
Well, I think challenges are part of our jobs. That's why we are here, is in order to look at challenges and transform those into opportunities by pulling in international expertise, by looking at our standard setting work. I think if you want an example, is the Man and Biosphere Reserve concept, where the Man and Biosphere Reserve concept highlights the importance of people living in nature, but at the same time also preserving that natural spot. But Nepal has no Man and Biosphere Reserve yet. So that's a challenge that we need to resolve together with the different stakeholders in order to see how such a Man and Biosphere Reserve can make a change for communities that live in a protected area. And I think specifically of Kanchenjunga. I've visited also this beautiful area where indigenous communities are passionate about the diversity of fauna and flora and their culture and what it means in order to preserve also their environment and the challenges that they face in order to preserve but also to be economic viable. In having jobs, in modernizing also their lifestyle. And these are a field, this is a field where UNESCO can help through an international concept, and we are working closely with those communities.
So is there a process or should there be changes in policy to bring this concept or implement this concept in Nepal?
Well, in some cases, yes, but in Kanchenjunga, it is a community-led conservation area. So I think
that's the beauty of Nepal.
That is the beauty of Nepal. It is an example, an international example, where the community can lead that change. We just need to work on the zoning in order to make sure that the preservation areas are there, the buffer zone where there could be other activities taking place, and then make it internationally known. That is the challenge.
So while we talk about indigenous communities and nature, so are we risking or losing authenticity while trying to modernize or in the process of urban development? What do you think?
It is possible to lose the authenticity. But I think that there are examples in Nepal where this authenticity has not lost its specificity. And I think of Bhaktapur, for example, the beautiful squares that you have where after the earthquake, for example, it was rebuilt. There's particular attention to the original materials that were used in the reconstruction efforts. So I think this is a good example. But I think one needs to be careful because when one reconstruct, when one preserve, it takes time. One needs to document, one needs to make sure that it represents its original authenticity. One needs to use some of the building materials that are maybe not as amply available than before. One needs to involve communities, and to involve communities takes time. So I think there are challenges, but I think Nepal is a good example where, especially after the reconstruction of the earthquake, extraordinary work has been done just after such a devastating event.
It's been a decade since the big earthquake of Nepal. So what does still concern you about, or what has Nepal done right?
I think Nepal has, first of all, involved communities, and communities were often, I think, very quick to respond to what happened after the earthquake. And I think this is extraordinary, that communities are so reactive and also have a space in order to act, to reconstruct and be part of the process. I think Nepal also mobilized an array of partners from different development partners, from international UNESCO and others, in order to come in with expertise and assist where necessary, without losing its authenticity. And I think this is also quite an endeavor in order to make sure that involving so many partners to keep the specificity of what Nepal represents and what its sites do. This said, I think after the earthquake, I'm concerned that we do not necessarily have a disaster risk plan for if something happens again. So there is still some work to be done. But Nepal has done a lot of things in a good way.
But do you think Nepal has unintentionally created replicas instead of preserving the character of the natural heritages during reconstruction?
No, I think there's been quite an effort in order to take into account new knowledge that have been generated through research, looking at disaster plans and integrating these the findings of these findings of this research into the reconstruction mode, and making an effort to reuse, I think, also some of the older materials that have been used before.
Okay, let's move on to education. Education is also a part of UNESCO. So what has UNESCO done for Nepal in the field of education?
Yes, UNESCO work within the UN family together with other UN agencies such as UNICEF and others in advancing education. And our work has concentrated on looking at informal education and education systems, looking at local education plans, and localizing curricula, training and other elements in the education system at local level, looking at the technical vocational education and advancing those elements, and also the higher education sector, looking at standards in terms of higher education references that need to be integrated within the system so that higher education qualifications in Nepal can be acknowledged also can also be acknowledged outside of Nepal. So I think we have an array of work to be done while we are the lead in the Sustainable Development Goal 4, that is on education. We work with others, the rest of the UN and other development partners, and we innovate. I think just yesterday we got additional assistance from Norway to work with UNICEF in a greening education initiative. And this is exciting in order to see also how a concept like greening education takes root in Nepal and also contribute to the well-being of your citizens.
Absolutely. And it should start from Nepal as well. There could be many examples. But as a UNESCO representative to Nepal, What do you think are the biggest gaps in education that Nepal has to overcome to achieve inclusive education?
In a recent midterm review of the education sector plan, I think several challenges have been highlighted. I think, first of all, looking specifically at some disadvantaged groups that are still in a disadvantaged position, either because of their language or because of them living with disabilities, right, or them living in certain geographical areas that do not perform as well as others. So I think this is one challenge in order to have education for all. Secondly, I think there's also a challenge in terms of motivating teachers and upscaling teachers' proficiency in new skills that come up every day.
Right.
And this is another field that UNESCO can play a role together with other development partners in order to make sure that our teachers are good teachers that are up to date in their skills. And I think in terms of the use of data to influence policy and planning, much more can be done in order to make use of the data that is collected and to collect data in a more systematic way. And lastly, I think so many challenges still exist in the use of new technologies.
Right.
And making use of these new technologies in the classroom.
As we talk about new technologies, is UNESCO helping to adapt education in Nepal through AI, learning tools, or skills development? Are there any projects, or have you done something?
So a few examples of what UNESCO has done. I think the first one is the ICT Master Plan in education, where we contributed through our international standards also in shaping this ICT Master Plan. Secondly, in the informal education sector, we looked at specific competencies in technologies for the teachers in the informal education system. And thirdly, after a recent meeting with the Minister of Education, we talked also about UNESCO's competency framework for the use of AI in the classroom. And many opportunities, but also pitfalls exist in this field.
Right.
And this is a new field, I think, that we are ready to assist Nepal in.
So as you might have seen that these realities on the ground, Nepal does face a huge amount of climate injustice. So what does the resilience of the Nepali people tell you?
I think there's a lot of innovation. And again, let me turn to the green schooling initiative through eco clubs, for example, where young people are engaged and they feel that they have to do something in order to contribute to a more resilient Nepal as it relates to natural disasters. The stories that one hears from young people that suffer but are also ready to do something and feel a responsibility to change things also in the way that we consume, in the way that we manage waste, and many other fields, really tells us that that resilience starts from a very young age. But much more can be done to institutionalize that and I think to scale up those initiatives.
Do you have any examples, or have you seen few communities that have protected heritage better than any kind of policy or institution?
Well, I think on the 8th and 9th of September, we've seen how citizens themselves protected the Ministry of Culture, the National Archives. And I think this tells a story about Nepalese, where they feel that they need to preserve their culture. In spite of having differences, they actually have a responsibility towards the preservation of cultural heritage. So I think this is a good example where artists, those engaged in the field of culture, really stand up and say, we want to protect our heritage. And for me, that's a good example.
Absolutely. So is there any place or heritage site that still fills you with awe in Nepal?
There are so many sites, and I think it's difficult to lift out one. I really feel that the Himalayan mountains are extraordinary, and its majesty, its presence is something that one cannot see anywhere else in the world. I was hiking 2 weekends ago, and I could just see this range of beautiful mountains. But at the same time, I think it reminds us also of the vulnerability of this. If we do not work on its protection, if we do not work on involving communities in its preservation, it will not be there for always. But what an extraordinary country, but also the people. And I think this is really what that makes a difference compared to other places.
Right. So after your time here in Nepal, what is the one image of Nepal, heritage sites or people that will stay with you forever?
Well, as I've only been here 6 months, I can have one example, and I'm sure I'll have more. And that is the people that participated and pulled the chariots in Lalitpur. And I think that shows the engagement of Nepalese in who they are, the devotion, by believing also in this ancient tradition, and resilience. It seems to be quite heavy to pull such a huge structure. And I think this shows how people and culture are one, and that this living heritage is part of Nepal. And I think I will not forget that image where this huge carriage is moving forward because of the effort of people.
What do you think Nepal can learn or change or adapt from what other countries are doing in the field of conservation, preservation, or even reconstruction?
Well, I think it's an evolving field, and there's a lot of innovation happening elsewhere. One element that I think is important, and I've seen, for example, at Lumbini, is the management of tourists. Is to, I think, really invest in training and plans that manage tourists, different kinds of tourists that come to Lumbini as an example, and how to deal with it. Many good examples in Korea, Pakistan, and elsewhere exist. So I think this is one example. But I think also the use of technology in managing all the tourist sites, but also preserving tourist sites. And why not your great documentary heritage, the scripts that you have. So much is being done elsewhere, and I think if there's an exchange between those experts and your great experts, even more can be done in Nepal.
Okay, so before wrapping up, I want you to tell the audience your to-do lists here in Nepal, and what would you like to see, maybe adventures, the foods you want to eat, the cultures you want to spend time with. What do you want to do? Please tell our audience.
So from a personal perspective, I think the Yomari food has been put on the National Intangible Heritage Site, so I haven't tasted that yet. I would love to taste the Yomari food. Secondly, I think the trekking experience is something that I haven't done. I've done hiking, but not trekking, and it seems extraordinary, and also interacting with the different communities that are there. And then thirdly, You have beautiful rivers, and each time that I pass at places where you can see river rafters, I think I have to be one of those that take advantage of this adventure in your country.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Real pleasure to spend with NTV World. This has been great also to talk about experiences in Nepal and how great this country is, and its future lies ahead with young people, with cultural heritage and natural heritage that is present and just wait to be further explored.
Thank you so much, Jaco, for joining us.
Pleasure.
That is all for today, folks. Now we will be with you in the next episode of NTV Insights.
Trimmed mustache, mirrored shades, and an unmistakable smile, Tenzing Norgay Sherpa climbs a steep hill in Khumbu. It's May 1991. After 38 years, he's returning to meet his old climbing partner, Sir Edmund Hillary, the man with whom he first stood atop the world.
Tenzing! Good to see you. My goodness. Well, yeah. Hi, Vicky. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Hi. Long time.
Good to see you. Yes, certainly. Did you have a good walk up?
Very well.
Good.
Fine.
Sagarmatha, head of the sky. Chomolungma, the mother goddess of the world, or simply Mount Everest. A mountain with many names, yet for generations it meant only one thing: the impossible. Since the 1920s, climbers from around the world had tried to conquer it. Many never returned. Avalanches, storms, frostbite, the mountain refused them all. Then on 29 May 1953, Edmund Hillary of New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa of Nepal stood together on top of the world. The world woke up to the headline, "Everest is conquered."
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the news. Mount Everest has been conquered by members of the British expedition. The news reached London in a message to the Times. It said that Mr. E.P. Hillary, a New Zealander, and Tenzing Bhutia, a Sherpa, had reached the summit last Friday, May 29th.
Among the 35 men in the team that made history was Kancha Sherpa, the last surviving member of that expedition. He passed away in October 2025. He remembered the climb as hard but joyful.
Chamulong bana हामीले सुनेको छ हामी के काममा जाने त्यहाँ जाने कामै थिएन अब यहाँको मान्छेहरू चाहिँ तल लोबेजसम्म बस्छ त्यहाँबाट त हामी जाने कामै छैन अनि तेन्जिङहरू त हेरेर आएर बु माथि एभरेस्ट चाहिँ हामीलाई थाहा पायो नभए हाम्रो गाउँै भए पनि हामीलाई के जाने कामै छैन गाह्रो भयो हजुर मलाई गाह्रो त के जानु नस्याङ्ने के अब कहिले पनि जस्तो काम गरेको छैन त पनि त बारे बोकेर त खरबासमा जानु पर्यो यहाँ हातमा डोरहरू समाउनु पर्यो यहाँ आइसँग समाउनु पर्यो यहाँ बारे थुप्रो बोकेर जानु पर्यो अनि त साङ्गुमा जानु पर्यो अनि माथि जुरेर जानु पर्यो अनि गाह्रो त एकदम गाह्रो छ तर यस्तो काम पाएर धेरै खुसी भयो नि
Hillary loved Khumbu and Khumbu loved Hillary. He dedicated his life for the region and its people. In the decades that followed, Everest became a symbol of determination, not just for men, but for everyone who dared to dream. In 1993, Pasang Lamu Sherpa became the first Nepali woman to stand on the summit. Her journey was marked by courage and struggle.
पैसा हुनु पर्यो यसमा आफूले लगानी गरेर खर्च गर्नु पर्यो रोयल्टी तिर्नु पर्यो अब आफूले सँगै लानु गुरुबहरुलाई चाहिँ खानाहरु हुनु पर्यो लुगाहरु एकैमैको पैसाहरु हुनु पर्यो त्यसकारणले चाहिँ यो पैसाकोले नि पैसाकै समस्याले गर्दाखेरि पनि अगाडि बढ्न नसकेको हो तर यहाँ एउटा ट्रेनिङको महिलाहरुलाई चाहिँ यो माउन्टेन ह्याली क्षेत्रमा एउटा ट्रेनिङको व्यवस्था बन्दोबस्त पनि त्यति साह्रो राम्रो छैन.
For some, the climb is a personal test. For others, it's a way to uplift an entire nation. Of the many record holders from Nepal, Apa Sherpa, who's also known as the Super Sherpa, had reached the summit 21 times before announcing his retirement.
म यो रेकर्डको लागि चल्ने भए त म आज पनि चल्न सकिन्छु नि तर म रेकर्डको लागि होइन मैले हाम्रो देशको लागि हाम्रो राष्ट्रको लागि माथि पहिले सुरुवातमा त आफ्नो पेशा भनौँ न अब पुरा नै हाम्रो राष्ट्रको लागि भनौँ पहिले सुरुवातमा त आफ्नो पेशाको हो तर त्यो लास्टमा म चढिरहेको भने त्यो त तपाईको उस जस्तो देखिन्छ कि कम्पिटिसन जस्तो देखिन्छ कि मलाई त्यो मेरो चाहिँ नि त्यो कम्पिटिसन होइन र म राष्ट्रको लागि हो त्यसैले मैले अब 2011 देखि मैले सन्यास लिएर अपा शेर्पा फाउन्डेसन खोलेर शिक्षा सबभन्दा इम्पोर्टेन्ट चाहिँ के छ हाम्रो शिक्षा एजुकेसन छैन भने हामीले धेरै गाह्रो छ मैले खैराहरूले पनि भन्दैछु विदाउट एजुकेसन वी हैव नो चोइस एजुकेसन इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ त्यसपछि हाम्रो वातावरण त्यसैले हाम्रो नेपालको लागि म त्यो दुईवटालाई जोडेर मैले सपोर्ट गरिरहेको छु.
Over time, the story of Everest has changed. Each climbing season now brings not only adventurers, but also income and impact. In 2024, Everest generated nearly 676 million Nepali rupees, almost 80% of Nepal's total mountaineering revenue. The fee for foreign climbers has been revised now to $15,000 each. So far, more than 8,000 summiteers of different nationalities have climbed Mount Everest. Many more aspire to reach the top of the world. To ease the pressure on Everest and promote other regions, the government of Nepal has opened 97 peaks that range from 5,970 meters to 7,123. One can climb these mountains in the Western Karnali and Sudur Pashchim provinces without having to pay royalties. As voices increase for the need of having summited at least one mountain over 7,000 meters in the country before bidding for the Everest, these 97 peaks are likely to be training ground for summiteers. With success, Everest has also seen a heavy burden. In 2023 alone, more than 75 tons of waste were collected from the Everest region. This included plastic, metal, oxygen bottles, and even human waste. The mountain has also been plagued by fatal climbing attempts.
यसपालिको भन्दाखेरि त अब लास्ट इयरको पनि मरेको लासहरू अझै पनि छन् माथि बाटोमै पनि त्यो लासहरू देखे हामीले यो 8300-400 मिटरमा बालकुनीमा त्यो लासहरू पनि अझै भइरहेछ र फोहोरहरू पनि सजकल पनि टन्नै फोहोरहरू छ. पहिला हामीले अब शहरमा त अरू सङ्घले पनि 2011 मा सफा त गर्यो त्यत्रो फोहोर ल्याए 10 टन फोहोर पनि धेरै नै ल्याएको त्यतिखेर त्यति ल्याउँदा पनि अझै फोहोरहरू चाहिँ एकदमै छ भनौँ न। टाइममा अब राज्यले चाहिँ किन त्यसलाई चाहिँ अलिकति व्यवस्थापन के अब कुन हिसाबले हुन्छ त्यो फोहोरलाई अलिकति तल ल्याएर अलिकति सफा गर्यो भने एभरेजको लागि अलिकति विदेशीहरुको लागि अलि राम्रो होला कि भन्ने चाहिँ हामीलाई लागेको छ।
Sagarmatha has taught the world to dream higher, but now she asks us to care deeper. The greatest climb perhaps isn't upward, but inward. "70 years since the first ascent, much has changed, but one thing has and will remain constant. Everest has and will continue to stand tall and keep challenging human abilities." Nepal, a land of unparalleled natural beauty and rich heritage. Tucked in the heart of Himalayas, this small yet mighty country is a living tapestry of religious, cultural, and historical significance. The capital city of Kathmandu sits like a jewel at the crossroads of time, surrounded by towering peaks and the lush landscapes of Kathmandu Valley. The vibrant city is home to a unique blend of cultural families, each deeply rooted in the traditions that have shaped Nepal for centuries. Kathmandu is a city where history, religion, and art are not just preserved but actively celebrated. This city is also the proud home to 7 of the world's most significant cultural heritage sites, all of which are recognized by UNESCO. For centuries, the people of Nepal have dreamed of sharing their nation's unique story with the world. And Nepal and its people have captured the world's attention and admiration. It is a place that draws people from every corner of the globe, inspiring awe with its ancient temples, stunning architecture, and deeply rooted spiritual legacy. In 1989, UNESCO declared 3 historical zones in Kathmandu as World Heritage Sites, including 2 Buddhist stupas and 2 Hindu temples. One such remarkable site is the Hanuman Dhoka Darbar Square, a historical treasure located in the heart of Kathmandu Valley. The legacy of ancient kings is written in every stone of this sacred ground. From the reign of King Ratna Malla to that of mighty King Bir Bikram, Hanuman Dhoka has been a central figure in the cultural and political life of Nepal. Here, the temple of Taleju, Jagannath, Shiva Parvati, the massive Thulo Ghanta, Kal Bhairav Shrine, Maiju Devo, and the Kumari Kal are among the most important landmarks. The intricacy of the temples, the carvings, the statues, and the entire architectural composition bear witness to the authenticity and craftsmanship of Nepalese art. The preservation of these artifacts is crucial as many of them are unique to Nepal and cannot be found anywhere else in the world. Each day, hundreds of international tourists visit this place not only to witness its beauty, but also to learn about its cultural and historical significance. Many scholars and academics visit Kathmandu to study the profound artistic and architectural heritage found in the city. Another historical gem is the Patan Darbar Square, an ancient palace complex that dates back to Malla dynasty. Located in the city of Patan, which is also known as the City of Art, the square is a testament to the creativity and devotion of Malla kings. Built during the 17th and 18th centuries, Patan's magnificent temples and palaces were commissioned by King Siddhi Narsingh, King Srinivas, and King Yoganendra Malla, whose influence is still visible in the area's grand architecture. Some of Patan's most famous landmarks include Mool Chowk, Sundari Chowk, Bhimsen Mandir, Krishna Mandir, Taleju, and Kumbheshwar Mandir. Among these, Sundari Chowk is an attraction in itself, and nearby Tusa Hiti Dhara, a traditional water spout, adds an authentic touch to the cultural experience. The Krishna Mandir, built in the distinct Shikhara style, is another highlight. This temple is particularly famous for its stone carvings depicting scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, an absolute visual feast for visitors. For centuries, Patan has stood as a symbol of artistic excellence.
The Rato Machinanath Jatra, a festival celebrated not only as the pride of Lalitpur, but also recognized globally for its cultural significance, had just concluded. This year, beginning on May 18, we launched a 40-day campaign showcasing the grandeur of the procession. The participation throughout the festival was truly encouraging. Last year, we welcomed around 200,000 visitors. This year, by mid-June alone, the footfall has already surpassed 225,000. This achievement fills us with immense pride, while also reminding us that there is still much more to accomplish. We currently offer a guided tour from Patan Dhoka to museum, completely free of cost, with the aim of establishing our heritage as a living part of our collective identity. Patan Museum has long been committed to safeguarding both the tangible and intangible cultural heritage of this region. It serves not only as a local exhibition space, but as a vital destination dedicated to preserving and celebrating the culture of this historic city. Our tangible inheritances, many of them dating back to the Lichavi era, stand as remarkable non-living heritage, while our festivals, rituals and processions embody the vibrancy of our living traditions. Both forms of heritage are invaluable to us. It is our responsibility to protect them, nurture them, and ensure they pass down to the future generations with the same reverence with which we receive them. International tourists travel to Nepal to experience the richness of our natural and cultural heritage. Our historical buildings, artifacts, sacred idols form an integral part of that experience. Many visitors take the time to explore, observe, and fully immerse themselves in the stories these treasures hold.
Established by the King Bardev, the city was originally known as Lalitpuri Adinath. It was not just the royal home, but the administrative heart of the region. The intricate woodwork, the timeless architecture, and the thriving cultural scene make Patan a perfect example of Nepal's historical richness. Bhaktapur, another ancient city, takes its place among the jewels of Nepal. Known for its stunning art, culture, and architecture, Bhaktapur is a city that has preserved its medieval charm. According to Gopal Raj's genealogy, the city was established by King Anandadev. The Bhaktapur Darbar Square is one of the most captivating sites, with attractions like Singhadwar, Swarnadwar, Chardham, and Nyatapol Mandir. Among these, the Pachwana Jhale Darbar, or the palace with 55 windows, stands out as an iconic symbol of Bhaktapur's rich history. This palace, originally built during King Yakshamalla's reign and later reconstructed by King Bhupatendra in the 17th century, is one of the finest examples of the Malla period's architectural prowess. The art gallery within the palace is also a significant attraction for tourists and art lovers. The cultural heritage of Bhaktapur is alive and well.
Now we are in Bhaktapur and we are very surprised about the city. It's like incredible. Imagine that from how long this city has been with human beings and culture around. So we are very impressed. Probably one of the most beautiful cities that we ever seen. The construction, the architecture is very nice. The bricks, that is like all the city made from bricks and wood. And the people also is very happy, very friendly. You can move easily from anywhere because they have transport for everywhere. Take a long time be in the roads because the roads are not so good, but you can do to any place. So it's very easy to move. It's very beautiful to see, and it's very satisfied for your heart. This kind of culture.
Bhaktapur, who is one of the most beautiful cities that I never seen before. It's a very ancient city. Some temples were constructed like in 12th century. So you feel like in other time, and you can walk a lot of days, and you can see the smile of the people, the street, this history. So we are very impressed and happy to came to this country. Every day I send pictures to them, to my family, and they are so impressive too. I think that this country is a very complete country to spend a holiday or a long trip, wherever you can do. You can be in different parts with different views and history and culture. So I invite to all you to come to Nepal and enjoy this beautiful place.
From the Kumals who craft their signature mud products to the intricate wooden crafts that define the city, Bhaktapur offers a window into traditional lifestyle of the Malla era. The famous black cap Bhatgaule topi, worn by Nepali men, also originates here, a small yet meaningful piece of cultural pride. On the spiritual front, Pashupatinath Temple is one of the most revered religious sites in Nepal and across the Hindu world. The temple, built in pagoda style, stands as a beacon of faith for millions of Hindus worldwide. It is believed that a pilgrimage to Pashupatinath is equivalent to visiting 4 sacred dhams of India. Built by King Bhupatindra Malla, this temple serves as a center of worship for a diverse array of spiritual communities, including Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, and others. The Pashupatinath complex is rich with temples, shrines, and sacred sites, each one steeped in centuries of religious history. One of the most significant festivals here is Shivaratri, a grand celebration of Lord Shiva that attracts thousands of devotees from around the world. Every year, during the special month of Shravan, the temple hosts vibrant rituals and ceremonies, drawing pilgrims to witness these sacred observances. The surrounding Slaes-Mantak forest adds to the serene atmosphere of Pashupatinath. The temple's unique wooden structures, gilded pinnacles, and the bronze statue of Nandi at the entrance all contribute to the spiritual ambience. The daily evening lighting ceremony at the Pashupatinath is a tranquil and profound experience for both locals and international visitors alike. Swambhunath, also known as the Monkey Temple, is another spiritual landmark in Kathmandu. Perched atop the Padmakantagiri hill, this ancient stupa offers sweeping views of the entire valley. The temple is especially important for Buddhists who revere it as a place of profound spiritual significance. Legends say it was here that the Bipasri Buddha meditated, marking the beginning of Kathmandu Valley's spiritual foundation. Swambhunath's 2 all-seeing eyes, which watch over the valley, are a powerful symbol of justice and wisdom. Visitors who climb the 365 steps to reach the stupa are greeted not only by the temple's beauty, but by the entire history of Nepal, etched in every stone and statue. The region also houses a museum and a library, both offering further insight into Nepal's religious and cultural past. Equally impressive is the Bodhanath Stupa, one of the largest in South Asia. Built in the 5th century, the stupa is a testament to Nepal's enduring connection to Tibetan Buddhism. The legend surrounding Bodhanath's construction is as captivating as its physical presence. It is said that the king, upon being asked if the stupa could be built, mistakenly replied in the affirmative, leading to the creation of this sacred monument. Bodhanath has become a hub for the Tibetan Buddhist community, especially during Losar festival, celebrated by Sherpa people. Its significance stretches beyond Nepal, linking the country to broader Buddhist world. The Changunarayan temple, located on the outskirts of Bhaktapur, is another example of Nepal's ancient cultural heritage. Built in the 4th century BCE, it is one of the oldest Hindu temples in Kathmandu Valley. Its intricate woodwork, stunning carvings and inscriptions make it a true architectural marvel. Dedicated to Lord Vishnu, the temple is a site of pilgrimage for Hindus and is also renowned for its artistry and craftsmanship. Kathmandu's heritage is not just a relic of the past, it is a living, breathing part of the city's identity. Both the local government and the people of Nepal continue to prioritize the preservation and promotion of these ancient sites, welcoming visitors from around the world to explore and appreciate the rich cultural and historical legacy of this beautiful land.
US Special Forces rescued a downed airman in Iran in a complex operation that averted a potential crisis for President Donald Trump as the war entered its sixth week with little sign of progress in diplomatic efforts for a resolution. Trump announced the rescue in the early hours of Sunday in a social media post that described the operation in the mountainous area of Iran as one of the most daring search and rescue operations in the U.S. history. The airman, the weapons officer of an F-15 jet shot down on Friday, was wounded but will just be fine, Trump said in a message. The pilot of the aircraft was rescued on Friday. A U.S. official said the operation, which Israel said it had assisted, involved dozens of military aircraft and encountered fierce resistance from the Iranian forces. Iran's military said several U.S. aircraft were destroyed during the operation, including 2 military transport planes and 2 Black Hawk helicopters. The rescue of the airman offered some good news for Trump, who has faced mounting pressure over a war that has sparked a global energy crisis and threatens lasting damages to the world economy. On Saturday, he renewed a threat to intensify attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure, saying it had 48 hours to open up shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz, the vital waterway for around a fifth of the world's oil and natural gas supply, which has been largely shut down. But despite the heavy damages to its military and civilian infrastructure by weeks of U.S. and Israeli attacks, Iran's chokehold over Hormuz has given it a powerful weapon, and Tehran has showed no sign of complying with Trump's demands. It has continued to launch missile and drone attacks against Israel, and on Sunday, it underlined its ability to hit U.S. allies in the Gulf region by launching a drone attack on petrochemical plants in Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. Iran's Revolutionary Guards also has warned that more attacks would follow if civilian targets in Iran are hit. Oman and Iran held talks aimed at easing the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the vital maritime choke point for about a fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas shipments, the Omani state media news agency reported on Sunday. Deputy foreign ministers and specialists from both countries met on Saturday to discuss possible options and technical proposals to ensure the smooth passage of vessels through the strait, which has been disrupted by fighting linked to the Middle East war. The dialogue comes as Iran has selectively allowed a small number of friendly ships to transit and partial traffic has resumed, even as most commercial shipping remains constrained and regional tensions do persist. Amid the ongoing U.S.-Israeli conflict with Iran, Gulf oil producers meanwhile are rerouting shipments through pipelines and tanker trucks to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial choke point for global energy supplies. The strait, once seeing about 130 vessels daily, now has roughly 20,000 seafarers stranded on 2,000 ships, according to International Maritime Organization. Saudi Arabia is maximizing use of its east-west pipeline capable of carrying nearly 7 million barrels per day, allowing oil exports to avoid the Strait of Hormuz entirely. The disruption at the strait has already triggered global energy market jitters and logistical bottlenecks. Northern Thailand is experiencing hazardous air pollution as dense haze blankets major cities, raising health concerns and prompting travel disruptions. Seasonal agricultural burning, forest fires, and weather patterns produce an annual pollution season across much of Southeast Asia, but parts of northern Thailand are seeing haze that even long-time residents describe as exceptional. Chiang Mai has repeatedly topped global air pollution rankings. Officials reported that smoke from widespread fires has pushed particulate matter levels far above safe limits, with Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and surrounding provinces recording air quality indexes classified as very unhealthy. Hospitals also have seen a rise in patients with respiratory issues, while schools and outdoor activities have been curtailed to reduce exposure. Officials warned that the haze could persist for several days unless coordinated firefighting efforts and stricter controls on crop burning are implemented, while environmental groups urged urgent government action to tackle the recurring smog problem. Samira Mohammadi is calling for an international investigation into a Pakistani bombing that killed her son and hundreds of others in Kabul last month, as survivors and families of the victims demand accountability. The March 16 attack struck a drug treatment center in the Afghan capital, killing 411 people according to Afghan officials and leaving many more injured. Mohammadi says she hopes a probe can extinguish the emotional turmoil caused by the loss. highlighting the personal toll amid broader fears over cross-border militancy and ongoing security challenges in Afghanistan. Officials and human rights groups have urged Pakistan to cooperate with investigations into the attack, while Afghan officials continue to press for regional accountability. The bombing, one of the deadliest in Kabul in recent years, has intensified calls for stronger security measures around civilian facilities. Witnesses described chaotic scenes as emergency responders struggle to reach victims. International observers have expressed concern over the rising impact of cross-border attacks on Afghanistan's fragile stability. NASA officials have said that the Artemis crew has moved closer to the moon than to Earth as astronauts prepare for a critical lunar flyby phase of the mission. John Honeycutt, during a press conference, described the flyby as a key operational test, with the crew tasked with gathering imagery and observational data to support future lunar landings, underscoring the milestone in the deep space journey. The astronauts, part of NASA's Artemis program, spend the day reviewing lunar surface features they are expected to analyze and photograph while orbiting the moon.
As you heard yesterday, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy are now closer to the moon than they are to Earth. I can tell you they've been incredibly busy. I know you've been watching coverage of the mission. I think you'll agree. It looks like they're really enjoying their work, and I can tell that in their voice.
The Artemis program is returning humans to the moon and establish a sustained presence, serving as a stepping stone for future missions to the Mars.
I'm pleased to report that the Orion spacecraft, it's in very good health, continues to operate nominally on its way to the moon, so no major anomalies that we're working at this time.
Artemis' second astronaut, Reed Wiseman, described the experience of being midway between the Earth and the moon as truly awe-inspiring, saying the view from the spacecraft revealed the Earth nearly in a full eclipse. He also highlighted the magnitude of the mission and the team's efforts.
72, just being up here and seeing how difficult this is and how hard the team is working. We do have a little bit of echo on your call. We'll try to turn it down when we're answering, but this is a magnificent accomplishment to be up here, to see the moon, to see the Earth, and to know that we are between those two celestial bodies, and you can see it when you look out the window. The Earth is almost in full eclipse, the moon is almost in full daylight, and the only way you could get that view is to be halfway between the two entities. It is truly awe-inspiring up here.
The crew, meanwhile, continues their historic journey, capturing unprecedented views as they orbit between the Earth and the moon. Residents gathered in a woodland area on the outskirts of Ukraine's Kiev to witness the release of rehabilitated bats in an event organized to raise awareness about the species and its role in the ecosystem. The initiative was led by Ukrainian Bat Rehabilitation Center, which cares for injured and hibernating bats during the winter months. Organizers say the release also aims to challenge the negative perceptions and long-standing fears surrounding the animals. Attendees, absorbed as workers, released the bats back into their natural habitat. The first 100 participants were given the opportunity to take part directly in the release. Local residents at the event emphasized the importance of public education about bats, noting their ecological value, including pest control and maintaining environmental balance. Organizers say such outreach efforts are essential to reduce harm to bat populations and encourage coexistence, particularly as misinformation continues to shape public attitudes. Japan's Bandai, the world's second-largest toy manufacturer, has opened its first dedicated Gazapon shop in bringing the popular capsule toy experience to Paris. The store features 500 gacha machines similar to those found in the heart of Tokyo's electronics and anime district, Akihabara, allowing customers to purchase toys encapsulated in plastic balls from vending machines. Bandai aims to capitalize on the growing European interest in the Japanese pop culture collectibles, mirroring the success of its Akihabara flagship while introducing the French customers to the Gazapon experience. The Paris hub also marks a major international expansion for Bandai, which dominates the global capsule toy market. Visitors can expect a range of themed toys from anime and video game characters to limited edition collectibles, all dispensed randomly from the machines. The opening also signals a broader push by Japanese entertainment brands to establish physical retail presences in Europe, blending nostalgia with interactive shopping experiences. The traditional Vietnamese conical hat known as Non La is being reimagined by a young artist in Ho Chi Minh City, blending cultural heritage with contemporary design. Teo Trung Hai has turned the iconic palm leaf hat into a creative medium to showcase the Vietnamese history and identity. One of his designs features patterns inspired by the Dongshan drum combined with the circular form of the hat, an emblem of the ancient rice civilization. The imagery evokes a connection between Vietnam's past and present. Another design incorporates lotus motifs paired with a traditional ao dai, aiming to highlight elegance and cultural symbolism associated with the Vietnamese women. Hai says each piece takes between 3 weeks to over a month to complete, requiring detailed craftsmanship and careful decisions on the layered design elements to create depth and visual impact. His work is gaining attention among young people in the city. Some say the designs stand out for their originality and refined aesthetics, while others note the contrast with more commonly seen conical hats, which typically feature simpler decorations. As Vietnam continues to modernize, initiatives like Hai's reflect a broader effort among younger generations to preserve and reinterpret cultural traditions.
Pope Leo XIV marked Easter Sunday for the first time as pontiff, with the Middle East war casting a pall over the most important date in the Christian calendar. The US-born Pope, who leads the world's 1.4 billion Catholics and has emerged as a leading voice against the war, holds Mass in St. Peter's Square in front of thousands of faithful. In Jerusalem, Easter Sunday Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was held under tight restrictions and with limited attendance, as the ongoing war involving Iran cast a shadow over one of Christianity's holiest celebrations. The ceremony, led by Latin Patriarch Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, took place largely behind closed doors, with only a small number of worshippers allowed inside the site revered by Christians as the place of Jesus Christ's crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. Israeli authorities imposed strict controls on access to Jerusalem's Old City and the religious sites, citing security concerns amid continued hostilities and missile threats linked to the conflict. In the UK, King Charles III and Queen Camilla attended the traditional Easter Sunday church service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor, joined by senior members of the royal family in a return to formality after recent health-related absences. Among those present were Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, marking Catherine's first appearance at the annual service in 2 years following her cancer treatment. Her return drew particular attention as the royal family sought to project continuity and stability during a period marked by health challenges. Thousands of worshippers and spectators gathered in Iztapalapa for the 183rd annual reenactment of the Passion of Christ, marking the first staging of the centuries-old tradition since it was recognized as intangible cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO. Actors and devotees recreated key biblical scenes across the borough's streets, drawing large crowds and highlighting the cultural and religious significance of one of Mexico's most emblematic Holy Week events. Local authorities said security and crowd management measures were intensified to accommodate the influx of participants and tourists, while organizers emphasized the historical importance of preserving the tradition amid ongoing international attention. The event featured dozens of actors portraying Jesus, Roman soldiers, and other biblical figures, with elaborate costumes and live performances along the city streets. Spectators, including international tourists, joined in the solemn processions, underscoring the global interest in the UNESCO-recognized tradition. Organizers said the recognition aims to preserve the ritual for future generations, while promoting Mexico's rich cultural heritage on the world stage.
Hundreds of people flocked to the Spring Flower Festival as cherry blossoms reached full bloom in South Korea's capital, marking one of the city's most popular seasonal events. The festival, held annually along the Han River, attracts both local residents and international tourists eager to witness the spectacular display of pink and white blossoms. Visitors line along the riverside paths to admire the blooming trees, take photographs, and participate in cultural activities organized for the event. Food stalls, live performances, and traditional music accompanied the scenic walks, creating a festive atmosphere that celebrates the arrival of spring. Festival attendees say that people come to see the cherry blossoms to feel the beginning of spring and get a sense of a fresh start, highlighting the symbolic importance of blossoms in Korean culture. City officials reported that security and crowd management measures were in place to ensure the safety of visitors amid the large turnout.
It's very amazing feeling because as Mr. Kiran Manandar is one of, I would love to say he is a global artist because he do have his studio. He used to have his studio in Paris and different places as well. And we are really lucky to have his studio here in Kathmandu Art House as well. And we have his studio upstairs where he come and create the things like create the paintings. And with his paintings, we feel very inspired and energetic. His painting is mostly spiritual and energetic too, as he take his painting as the part of his life and also a spiritual value to his painting.
It's my first time in Nepal. I've been seeing cultural sites around the city, and I'm extremely pleased that I came to visit this museum because this art is really amazing, and it's really beautiful to see sort of this modern expression of some of the historical cultural themes, and also like just some very human global themes as well. And I think the artist is just really incredible, and the art that I'm seeing here is really beautiful, and I'm very, very pleased, very happy.
So how did you feel to meet the real artist here?
It was really incredible. I feel so lucky that I came here today when the artist was here. It was beautiful to meet him. He's so friendly and warm. Yeah. Learning about the space was also really interesting. I hadn't known the history of this location. I think it's a great place for an art museum.
Oh, they feel very nice looking at the artworks because since we have here Kathmandu Art House, when people come in, when they see the different category of the artists and all, and especially Mr. Kiran Manandar's work, they feel very like overwhelmed. Not only the overwhelmed, but they feel very good about how Nepali art is like that, because they get, most of the time they get surprised, I must say that, because they haven't actually seen the artwork of Nepali artists in that deeper level. But since Mr. Kiran Manandar is famous all over the place. So yeah, he's also the pioneer of the abstract art here in Nepal. So he has actually, and he is also the first chancellor of NAFA, which has actually created like new, the step in the Nepali art field, in Nepali art society, and he has contributed a lot here. So while we talk with the guest as well, they get very inspired from his work with the colors, that the flow of colors, the brush strokes that he have, and also the spiritual value when we talk about the artist and also his painting to artists. They feel it's actually a true modern Nepali art, where there is actually the touch of traditional spirituality and also a modern touch.
My primary interest for people coming to Nepal like me, if I had a color problem, I would have gone to a small or big trekking earlier, looking at those small streams, the originality of those colors. And I would look at these old broken palaces or houses, these bamboos. Now, like I learned a lot in Balajo, and this color is still dyed with kaya. This original color is not ours, right? Now for us, for example, when I went to work in a museum in Japan earlier, I would take red soil, black soil, because that is new now, that pote even now. Sometimes when I paint on canvas, I remember my grandmother, because at that time, painting with red soil was our own energy, and no insects would be attracted to it. Therefore, to use our own, we have to go to the village, house, place, everywhere. We have to take it anywhere. Even now, I tell you that after crossing Balajo Pass, the air and water there will be different. That scent of the forest will come, and therefore, we are not without it either. To develop this, such museums are needed. Artists who include everyone like this are needed. Now it is very good. I would say that even now, the time is such that foreign artists should come to Nepal to learn. There is a scent of art here now. We were scared by the lakhe. My maternal uncle sent us. My maternal uncle is from West Nuwakot. And so the lakhe had come. I asked why, and he said it was to roam around so high. And it looked red, and it was strong like you and me. And that's why, with that imagination, I had never met him. I used to play the instrument when I was a child, but in that imagination, scary and then walking. Our current Newari custom is that if some boys walk around a lot, they are said to be likely lucky. It came out of that imagination.
Kiran Manandar sir is a very fascinating person. I first met him in 2021. So in that time and till today, I kind of got a sense of his spiritual aspect a lot. Even though his artworks are abstract, you can identify each element. So in Kiran Manandar's paintings, even though it is an abstract art, each of us can identify ourselves. For example, in feminine beauty, we can identify a beautiful woman. In divine love, we can identify divine aspects of love. For example, Radha Krishna, Shiva Parvati, Vishnu and Lakshmi even. And in his spiritual series, for example, Shunya and Atma, we can identify the meditative aspect and the metaphysical aspect where we can achieve through divine interventions. And his artworks are mostly based on these spiritual factors also. And you can identify other materials. For example, he uses not only pen and ink, he uses materials like different clothes, which is written in Ranjana script. So there is Namo Tassa Bhagavato written in Ranjana script, and with that you can also see Kiran Mananda written in the same script. So that is basically his traditional route taking over in his abstract forms. And you can also identify the malas that you use in ritualistic activities, in pujas, and you can also see that aspects put together in the painting. And also the prayer flags of Buddha, the 5 Buddhas prayer flags. So all these materials are used by Kiran Manandar, and because of that we can say that he's a very spiritual person. And in his catalog I have dissected and categorized these themes, thematical order in his painting. So I started with nature because he loves nature, and I remember him giving an example of a tree. So from afar we can only see a tree, but if you look closer and you can see the branches, the leaves, the fruits, the roots and everything. So his paintings are also layered like that, the colors and bold strokes, like it's a palette knife that he uses, and that has a lot of strokes, lines. And even though it looks harsh when we look at it, but you can then deepen your thoughts and process, and you can see the color combinations and the beauty of the chaos that he creates in his paintings.
हामीले जति लोभ गर्यो त्यो चीजबाट सिर्जना कहिले पनि हुँदैन, हामीले त्याग्नै पर्छ।
Whatever we covet, creation never comes from that. We have to give it up. Therefore, I feel that we are born to live and give up, not to live forever. So, in this painting, there are these pieces of cloth attached to the paper. When I was strong, I used to go to Swayambhu. Then monkeys would throw down these flags. Initially, I made a lot of paintings using their flags. Because they were being thrown away, I brought them home, cleaned them, and gave them a complete form. Then where to keep them? I call a canvas my bank, so I keep it there. No one would take what was on the ground. But after putting it here, people covet it. They buy it. In this way, everything is to be given up. Even when painting and applying colors, it's the same. It's not meant to be kept forever, but to be given up. What is there to take? Therefore, the most important thing is whether you are painting or doing any other work. You should do it with a pure heart and then leave it behind. Nothing is to be taken away.
मुनाको चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ काम भनेको चाहिँ किरण दाई जस्तै चाहिँ आर्टिस्टहरुको चाहिँ नि
Muna's work involves organization exhibition for artists like Kiran Dai to show their work to Nepalese and the rest of the world. Because there are artists like Nepalese in the world, we are no less than any other country, at least in the field of art.
Main reason why I opened the Museum of Nepali Art, which is Mona in short form, is to platform living Nepali artist. That this is actually the first private museum in Nepal. And even after 1,000 years, but as long as there is humanity, as long as there is Nepal, as long as there is Nepal and art, we will be part of Kirandai. We need to ask questions. We need to ask questions to ourselves, not to anybody else. And that is the main purpose of art. And that is what I am trying to bring it out through my museum, through my passion, to the people, so that we can better understand ourselves, we can better appreciate our community, we can better appreciate our nation, and we can better appreciate the world that we live in.
They say that life is all connected, even the most remote of animals and humans all rose from this earth. But after years of life on land and sea, have we thought about how far these connections sustain? Deep within Sri Lanka lies Udavalava, nestled nearly 200 kilometers away from the bustling capital city of Colombo. Born out of the need for agriculture, the Udavalava Reservoir in the 1960s paved the way for elephants to find refuge in the area. The town of Udavalava is an extraordinary tapestry of society where the vibrant synergy of locals and wildlife flourishes. A town where a national park, agricultural land, an elephant transit home, and a community all exist in their harmony. As the sun rises over the serene Udavalava National Park, the people who call this place home embrace a livelihood intricately woven with nature's splendor. Resources are shared among the people of Udavalava and elephants alike. They thrive by building and trading monuments of culture around the world of elephants.
Today in the morning we make a safari, like 4 hours on the jeep, and it was actually really nice. We saw some elephants. We really enjoyed.
Among the cherished traditions in Sri Lanka, passed down through generations, is the awe-inspiring Gajaga Vannama, a mesmerizing dance performance that showcases the elegant spirit of elephants, honoring their grace and power in Sri Lankan heritage. This is the elephant transit home called At Athuru Savana, a haven that serves as a refuge for orphaned, injured and malnourished elephants. This is where we found the enchanting tale of Namal.
අපේ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නිලධාරීන්ට හම්බෙලා තියෙන අම්පාර නාමල්ලෝය කියන ප්‍රදේශයේදී වැලක පැටලිලා තුවාල වෙලා ඉන්න පොඩි පැටියෙක් තමයි හම්බෙලා තියෙන කකුලේ ආබාධයෙන් හින්දා. උඩවල ඇත්තට සෙවණට ගෙනල්ලා මෙයාව අර කකුලේ තුවාලේ වැඩි වෙන හින්දා මෙයාගේ ජීවිතේ බේර ගන්න තමයි මේ කකුල කපලා අයින් කරලා මෙයාට මේ කෘත්‍රිම කකුලක් හදලා දාලා උඩවල ඇත්තට සෙවණේ බලාගන්න. අවුරුදු 13ක වයස වගේ ටිකක් වෙනස් සතෙක්. මෙයා ටිකක් අර සැරයි. ටිකක් සාමාන්‍ය අනිත් අයට වගේ එහෙම කිට්ටු වෙන්න අමාරු. උරු වෙච්ච එක්කෙනෙකුට දෙන්නෙකුට වගේ තමයි මෙයත් එක්ක ගනුදෙනු කරන්න පුළුවන්. දොවලව මේ ආශ්‍රිත ප්‍රදේශයට ලොකු සම්පතක්. මොකද මේ වගේ සතෙක් මුළු ලෝකේ කොහෙවත් නැහැ. මොන ජීවිත අවදානම හරි මොන දේ තිබ්බත් අර ගොඩක් මම කැමති මේ සතාව බලා ගන්න. මොකද මේ එහෙම කවුරුත් නැතුව ගියොත් මේ සතා තවත් අසරණ වෙනවනේ.
Like Namal, all these gentle giants receive the loving care and attention they so desperately need at this elephant transit home located close to the national park. While Namal flourishes under the watchful eyes of his caretakers, not too far away from the park, the battle for resources between elephants and humans looms.
වයින් නැති කාලෙට ඒ කියන්නේ පැවුම් කාලේට අනිවාර්යෙන්ම එනවා වැඩි. ඒ වෙනකොට උන්ටක් කන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් උනුත් මේවට එනවා. කියන්නේ උන් අපි ඉතින් එලවනවා. ඉතින් කරදරයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ දැනුවත් වෙනා. උන්ටත් ඉතින් අපිත් උන් එලවනවා. උන් එනවා. ඉතින් වගා වලට පයින්නවා. දිගටම ඒක තමයි ඉතින් වෙන්නේ. 6 වෙනකොට 6 7 වෙනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් වහිනෝමයි යලි මේවට. කොටු හිටවනවා කෙසෙල් ඔක්කොම ඉතින් කඩා කප්පල් වල දාලා උන්ගේ කැලේ වුණාට ඉතින් අපිත් ගොවිතැනක් කරගන්න මේකට ආයේ ගොවිතැන් බතක් කරගෙන ඉතින් අපි ඉන්නෝට ඉතින් තරහයි ඉතින් මොනෝ කරන්නද අලියා අලියා
In the face of these challenges, the transit home provided a glimmer of hope. The generous support and compassion of humans offered a lifeline to these magnificent beings.
ඇත්තතු සෙවන කියන එකේ තේමාවම ගත්තොත් යලිත් සියන ජීබිම් කරා පාන ගන්න කියන තේමාවට තමයි මේක ආරම්භ වුනේ. විශේෂයෙන් මානව ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සහ විවිධ ස්වභාවික සංසිද්ධීන් අනුව අවතැන් වෙන තුවාල වුණු අතරමං වුණු සත්තු අලිපැටව විශේෂයෙන් පුනරුත්ථාපනය කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානයක්. ඒගොල්ලෝ යම්කිසි කාලයක් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ පෝෂණය, සෞඛ්‍ය විවිධ සමාජීය කටයුතු කරලා මේගොල්ලෝ නිසි වයස එළඹුණාන් පස්සේ මේගොල්ලෝ නැවත ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නිජ බිම් වලට ස්වභාවික පරිසරයට නිදහස් කිරීම තමයි මෙතන වෙන මූලික සංකල්පය.
Current societal changes, the cultural changes and the development changes has resulted in what we hear and the way we see things today in the present. Today the tourists come to see elephants in captive locations like Udawalawe. Now these relationships and these things being successful in Sri Lanka is because of development, and yet there is this feeling of sustainability in nature that Sri Lankan has, and therefore we feel the elephant as still part of our naturalness.
People help these gentle giants by fostering and even donating milk to the little elephants that find their way to this second home, ensuring that they are nurtured before joining the wilderness once again.
This is the first time, so the baby elephants are so cute.
Yes.
So cute, so many. I like elephants because they're very cute, and we don't have elephants at home.
ජීවිතේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට තමයි මේ වගේ අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුනේ. ඒක තහඳ සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක්. මේ වගේ අලි කුඩා අලි පැටව දකින්න ලැබුණේ නම් ප්‍රථම වතාවට මෙහෙම ඒගොල්ලෝ කිරි බනවා, කෑම කනවා දකින්න ලැබිච්ච ඉතින් සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුණා.
The opportunities to see the wild animals and to be with nature and to be in nature is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
උඩවලවේ අලියා ඉන්න නිසා තමයි මේ හැම දෙයක්ම අපට ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම අලියා අපි කියනවා කීස්ටෝන් එකක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් එයා යතුරක්. ඒක ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානය තුළ සංරක්ෂිත භූමියේ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් වෙන්නේ. අලියා සංරක්ෂිත ප්‍රදේශයෙන් පිට පරිබාහිර මේ ගම්මානවලටත් මේ අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් වෙනවා. මොකද මේ යතුරු කැරැල්ලේ ප්‍රධාන යතුරු නැති වුණොත් මේ ගම වැටෙන්න පුළුවන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම රුජු හා වක්‍ර රැකියාවල් 10000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වෙද්දි උඩවලව ආශ්‍රිතව උඩවලව ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානයේ ආශ්‍රිතව සංචාරක කර්මාන්තයට දායක වෙනවා.
And amidst the serene landscapes of the Udawalawa National Park, tourism flourishes. Visitors from around the world are welcomed to witness the grandeur of elephants in their natural habitat, forging a profound and everlasting connection with nature and Sri Lanka. Yet, the true essence of sustainability lies beyond the surface, entwined with the very existence of these gentle giants.
The national park's incredible. So many elephants. We saw the baby orphans this morning as well, which was amazing. Really, really cool. Yeah, just so much to see.
The prosperity of the people relies on the delicate balance created by the coexistence of humans and elephants. As the sun sets over the enchanting landscapes of Udawalawa, the resounding rhythm of the gentle giants prevails.
My first time, and it's like magnificent. These animals are so beautiful. Like crazy. We've seen hundreds of elephants.
The timeless tales of these elephants stand as a subtle reminder of how people and the gentle beasts alike can walk together. It symbolizes the power of sustainable tourism in Sri Lanka. It symbolizes the power of togetherness.
The first space is your home. The second space is your work or school.
Oh, very good.
And the third space? It is a place for your social life to actually unfold.
Capital city-हरु चाहिँ मान्छेहरु चाहिँ आफ्नो लाइफमा आफ्नो डे टु डे लाइफमा यति धेरै बिजी भइसकेका हुन्छ कि उनीहरु एकदमै आइसोलेटेड भइसकेका हुन्छन् के सो यसबाट चाहिँ लाइक टु गेट ओभर इट अनि एक्सप्लोर गर्न आफूले आफूलाई फ्रेश गराउनको लागि हैन त्यसको लागि चाहिँ इट्स रियली एसेन्शियल.
In many parts of the Western world, third spaces look like cafes, libraries, pubs, and so on. We have those too in Nepal, but historically we have always done it a little differently.
म चाहिँ यो नजिक बस्ने भएको भएर म यो ठाउँमा अक्सर आइरहन्छु हैन मलाई यो
पब्लिक प्लेसहरू सार्वजनिक ठाउँहरू एकदमै मनपर्छ मलाई चाहिँ अनि अब काठमाडौँ आफै पनि साँघुरो छ हैन हामीसँग थोरै मात्रै पब्लिक स्पेसहरू छ त्यसमध्ये बसन्तपुरको यो सार्वजनिक स्थल चाहिँ एकदमै मलाई लाग्छ काठमाडौँ भित्रको क्राउडमा पनि अलिकति रमाइलो गर्नलाई आफ्नो फ्यामिलीसँग टाइम स्पेन्ड गर्नलाई अनि अलिकति फ्रेस भएर बसौँ अलिकति हावा खाएर बसौँ भन्ने हो भने यो ठाउँ चाहिँ हाम्रो वर्ल्ड हेरिटेजमा भएको साइटहरू हेर्दै हामी मजाले रमाउन सक्छौँ गफ गर्न सक्छौँ.
The term third space comes from sociologist Ray Oldenburg's 1989 book The Great Good Place. He described it as public space outside of your home or work where you can exist socially and build connections. But in Nepal, the idea of a third space has existed for centuries.
नेपालको सन्दर्भमा हेर्यो भने पनि हामी 16औं शताब्दीमा मल्ल राजाहरूले चाहिँ यसलाई क्रिएट गरेको पाउँछौँ. तर त्यो भन्दा अगाडि पनि लिच्छवीकालीन हेर्यो भने पनि यो स्पेसहरू चाहिँ क्रिएसन गरेको देखिन्छ. किनभने काठमाडौँ दरबार स्क्वायरमा हेर्यो भने एउटा चाहिँ के छ भने स्पिरिचुअली पनि लिएको छ. त्यहाँ शिव पार्वती मन्दिरहरू छ भने हनुमान ढोका छ. त्यस्तै गरेर नसाल चोक छ दरबारको लागि. त्यस्तै गरिकन कुमारीको पनि त्यही छ. भनेपछि यो जम्मैले हामी के देख्छौँ भने यो थर्ड स्पेस चाहिँ हामी अहिले मात्रै होइन कि परम्परागतदेखि नै पाइन्छ. बिहान पख चाहिँ किसानहरूले ताजा तरकारी ल्याउने पनि भेट्थ्यौँ. अनि अहिले पनि कुरा आएको छ फ्रेस सब्जीहरू खान्छ भने बिहान यो थर्ड स्पेसमा जाने भन्छ. अहिले पनि हामी हेऱ्यौँ भने यो दरबार स्क्वायरको वरिपरि तरकारी के अरे बेच्न बिहान बिहान किसानहरूले ल्याएको हामी पाउँछौँ. यो चाहिँ त्यही भएर यो परम्परागत देखिन्छ. अर्को चाहिँ के छ भने यो इन्टरेक्सन गर्ने ओल्ड एज अथवा रिटायर मान्छे यस्ता मान्छेहरूले पनि त्यो थर्ड स्पेस युज गरेको पाउँछौँ.
From temple courtyards to neighborhood chokes to palace squares, our third spaces are woven into the fabric of our history and culture itself. They live on the temple steps. They are sheltered under the shade of the traditional falcha and poured into teacups at hole-in-the-wall tea stalls.
कोही कोही साथीहरु मिलेर आउँछ कोही कोही अब विदेशीहरु पनि आएर चिया खान आउँछ यहाँ अनि अब कोही अब यसो अब कामसाम सकाएर आरामले चिया खाने हिसाबले आउनेहरु पनि मान्छेहरु आउँछ है अब बेलुकासम्म काम पसल बस्छ बन्द गरेर चिया खान आउनेहरु पनि आउँछ तपाईको यहाँ.
Beyond these grand palace courtyards, the surrounding traditional neighborhood also have their own junctions, built as a part of the people's local daily lives.
दरबार भनेको चाहिँ यो कन्ट्री वाइड भयो त्यतिखेर र नेबरहुड वाइड भन्छ कि नेबरहुडमा पनि हामी चोक चोक भेटाउँछौँ. त्यो अनि त्यसलाई पनि के गरेको छ त भन्दाखेरि हायरार्की गरेको छ, तहगत छुट्याइदिएको छ हैन. व्यक्तिगतलाई स्पेस पनि दिएको छ. जस्तो हामीले चाहिँ चारवटा दाजुभाइहरूको घर बनाएको छ नि एउटा कोर्टयार्ड बनाइदिने अनि त्यहाँ एउटा मन्दिर बनाउने गणेशको अथवा बुद्धको के छ त्यो एउटा ल्यान्डमार्क बनाउने र आफ्नो बिहानको घाम ताप्ने ठाउँ मात्रै होइन कि अब बसेर कुरा गर्ने अनि कार्यक्रमहरू गर्ने कुनै कार्यक्रम त्यस्तो अनि अलिक त्योभन्दा वाइडर गऱ्यो भने अलिकता ठुलो कम्युनिटीमा जाने एउटा प्राइभेटबाट चाहिँ कम्युनिटीमा आयो अनि यो चाहिँ बस्नपुर जस्तो चाहिँ अब कन्ट्री वाइज एउटा नेसनल लेभलको चाहिँ स्पेस हो त्यो अलिक ठुलो छ.
The third space does not have to be something high-tech or carefully curated. It just needs to be accessible enough for people to visit, relax, and connect. Third spaces are where people come together, talk, and feel like a part of something bigger, communal. In the hustle and bustle of a city like Kathmandu, they offer what many of us crave: a connection, a pause, a sense of belonging.
हामी यही आँगनमा खेलेर हुर्क्यौँ अनि हामी गुम्बोबाट फर्केर आउँदा पनि यही ढोका तरेर यहाँबाट आमाले बोलाउँथ्यो त्यस्तै त्यो बाल्यकाल यस्तै गर्दै बित्नु भएको थियो अनि यही ढोकाको अगाडि अघि म हिँडेको बाटोमै हाम्रो आमाको साथीहरू चाहिँ दिउँसोको 1-2 बजे पछि त्यही बस्नुहुन्थ्यो त्यो गरेर कुरा गर्दै बस्नु उहाँहरूले चाहिँ अनि मेरो नाम बाबु राख्नु भएको
उनको परिवार उनलाई कुनै गुम्बाको लामा बनाउन चाहन्थ्यो तर उनको रुचि अन्तै थियो
पहिले चाहिँ मुस्ताङ राजाको चाहिँ नेम अनुसार चाहिँ ठुलो छोरालाई चाहिँ घर हेर्नुपर्ने र अनि माइलो छोराले चाहिँ गुम्बा जानुपर्ने नियम भएको कारणले चाहिँ म लामा मेरो फ्यामिलीले चाहिँ लामामा पठाउनु भएको म 20 वर्ष लामा बसेँ त्यसपछि चाहिँ मेरो इन्ट्रेस्ट चाहिँ कल्चर र वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रतिको त्यो रिलेसनको बारेमा भयो अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ मैले सिटिजन साइन्टिस्टको रूपमा आफ्नो काम त्यो स्टडीहरू आफै गर्दै गएँ रिपोर्ट बेच्दा मैले 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ ऊ पारी डाँडामा बस्यो म यता वारी डाँडामा बसेर चाहिँ यसै हेड एन्ड सिक खेलेको जस्तै भएर बसिरहेको थियो ऊ पनि सुतिरहेको थियो म पनि आफ्नै क्यामेरा छेउमा राखेर चाहिँ कहिले फोटो खिच्न मन लागेको फोटो खिच्यो त्यसपछि चाहिँ उसलाई हेरिरहेर चाहिँ त्यो गरे उसको ह्याबिटहरू चाहिँ चिनिरहेको भन्छ त्यो इन्सिडेन्टहरू चाहिँ मलाई बेस्ट लाग्छ
पहिलो हिमचित छिर्छ भने त ऊ फोटो हुन नपाएर नि किनलो क्यामेरा हुन नपाएर गाह्रो भयो अनि उसको दाइ चाहिँ विदेश गयो उसलाई धोका गाटे उसले क्यामेरा पठायो अनि उसले खिच्यो अनि आमा त जहाँ गयो भने तिमी जहाँ गयो भने नडाँटो हामी साथीसित मिलाएर बसा अनि काम गरे भने राम्रो हुन्छ यिनीहरूको बुवाको काम राम्रो भएछ बाबु अनि म अलि ढिलो छ बच्चाहरूले धोका दिँदैन यिन हामी धोका बच्चाहरू त नदुखे बुवाले उर्कायो आमाले पनि धोका गरेन बच्चाले पनि धोका गरेन बुवा राम्रो भयो अनि अलि बाँकी नभयो
नेपालको गण्डकी प्रदेशमा पर्ने मुस्ताङ जिल्ला चीनसँग जोडिएको ठाउँ हो यो सरदर 4023 मिटर उचाइमा छ ठूला ठूला रुख बिरुवा विहीन पहाडहरू र यहाँको फरक संस्कृति नै मुस्ताङका विशेषता हुन् बाबु गुरुङ यही मुस्ताङका छोरा हुन् जसले मुस्ताङमा आफ्नो र मुस्ताङको भविष्य उज्यालो देखेका छन्
मुस्ताङको एउटा मेन फेसेस भनेको के हो भने युवाहरू विदेशी मेन प्रब्लम किनकि म जस्तो अहिले यङ केटाहरूले चाहिँ यता बस्नै उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ गाह्रो मान्छ किनकि उनीहरूले चाहिँ यता कुनै त्यो नै छैन रोजगारी नै छैन तर मलाई विश्वास छ यो वाइल्ड लाइफलाई चाहिँ यो मुस्ताङमा चाहिँ विन्टरको 1 महिना भए पनि उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ त्यो रोजगारी पनि त्यति त्यो नभइकन उनीहरूले चाहिँ सिक्न पाउनेदेखि लिएर उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ भन्ने मलाई विश्वास छ अनि यो हुन्छ तर म गरेरै छोड्छु भन्ने मेरो अब डिटर्मिनेसन जस्तै म गरिरहेको छु
मुस्ताङ संसारभरिका पर्यटकको गन्तव्य बन्दै गएको छ जसको एक उदाहरण यी विदेशी नागरिक
I'm really happy to be here and me and my wife we travel a lot and normally we decide to go to countries where we can combine nature, culture, people, and I like to take photographs. It's my hobby, and therefore, for me, is this destination.
मौलिक मार्फा गाउँ संसारलाई लोभ्याउने कलात्मक पहाडहरू यहाँको अद्वितीय मौलिक संस्कार र संस्कृति शान्त र मौलिक जीवनशैली हो यिनै हुन् मुस्ताङका परिचय तिब्बतको नजिकै हुनाले यहाँ प्राय तिब्बती संस्कृति मनाइन्छ भाषा पनि तिब्बती नै बोलिन्छ बौद्ध धर्म यहाँको मुख्य धर्म हो लोमान्थाङ उपत्यका यहाँको सदरमुकाम र सबैभन्दा ठूलो बस्ती भएको ठाउँ हो जुन एउटा पर्खालले घेरिएको छ यहाँ केही समय अघिसम्म मुस्ताङी राजाको आफ्नै शासन नियम र कानुन चल्थे हाल त्यो शासन नभए पनि यहाँका राजा र राज संस्थालाई मुस्ताङीहरू निकै श्रद्धा गर्छन् उत्पादनको हिसाबले मुस्ताङ स्याउको लागि प्रसिद्ध छ मुस्ताङ पुग्न काठमाडौँबाट कास्की जिल्लाको पोखरा पुग्नुपर्छ सुन्दर नगरी पोखराबाट हवाई जहाजमा सदरमुकाम जोमसोमसम्म पुगेर त्यहाँबाट मोटर यात्रा तय गरेर पनि लोमान्थाङ पुग्न सकिन्छ यसरी जाँदा पोखरादेखि जोमसोमसम्म हवाई जहाजमा 18 मिनेट लाग्छ
Nepal government declares two-day public holiday starting April 6, decides on electric vehicle push and new academic session. Dol Prasad Aryal sworn in as Nepal's new House Speaker. Elected unopposed, Aryal assumes office today itself. Nepal shuts down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites. Authorities warn of strict action as part of governance reform drive. Government rolls out 100-point transport safety plan. Various safety features to boost passenger security amid rising fuel cost. U.S. rescues downed airman in Iran amid ongoing conflict. Drone strikes hit Kuwait as regional tensions escalate. And FIFA AFC warn UNFA to hold elections within 7 days. Suspension could bar Nepal from international football and funding access. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal's government has announced that Saturdays and Sundays will be observed as public holidays starting April 6 for all government offices and educational institutions. The decision, taken at a Council of Ministers meeting, also approved concessional loans worth over $185 billion from the Asian Development Bank and World Bank for key digital and financial sector reforms. The Cabinet endorsed an organisation and management survey across government bodies to enhance administrative efficiency. It also accepted the resignation of Executive Chairman of National News Agency RSS, Dharmendra Jha, and approved plans to transition fuel-powered vehicles to electric, while confirming the new academic session will begin on April 28.
असहजताका कारण 82 चैत 23 गतेबाट लागू हुने गरी सरकारी कार्यालय तथा सम्पूर्ण शैक्षिक संस्थाहरूमा शनिबार र आइतबार बिदा दिने तथा शैक्षिक संस्था बाहेक उल्लेखित कार्यालयहरूको कार्यालय समय 9 देखि 5 बजे कायम गर्ने.
We will look more into this in our segment Cover Story later in the bulletin. Dol Prasad Aryal has been sworn in as the new Speaker of Nepal's House of Representatives, taking the oath of office and secrecy from President Ramchandra Podal at Sheetal Niwas. Aryal was elected unopposed as the 10th Speaker after receiving a single nomination backed by multiple lawmakers. The result was announced by senior member Arjun Narsingh Kesi, who chaired the House session. Following the ceremony, Aryal assumed office at the Federal Parliament Secretariat in Singhadarbar, marking a smooth leadership transition in Nepal's lower house. Meanwhile, Nepal Communist Party lawmaker Leela Kumar Bhandari has filed her candidacy for the post of Vice Chairperson of the National Assembly. The proposal was registered at the Federal Parliament Secretariat in line with the official schedule. Bhandari's nomination was proposed by Prem Prasad Dangal and seconded by lawmakers from multiple parties, indicating cross-party backing. The election for the Vice Chairperson post will proceed as per parliamentary procedures in the coming weeks. Nepal has shut down more than 7,000 online gambling apps and websites as part of its governance reform drive, the Nepal Telecommunications Authority said. The move follows a cabinet-approved 100-point reform plan that mandates the closure of betting platforms within 24 hours. Authorities say over 50 complaints were received and acted upon in the past week alone. Under Nepal's law, illegal betting can lead to up to 1 year in prison and fines, with officials warning of strict enforcement and urging the public to report suspicious platforms. Nepal government has unveiled a 100-point action plan focusing on transport safety reforms, including mandatory CCTV and dashboard cameras in public vehicles, women-only blue bus services, and SOS features in ride-sharing apps. Authorities say the measures aim to modernize the sector and ensure passenger security through real-time monitoring and emergency response. The reforms are set to be implemented by April 25, according to Ramhari Pokhrel, spokesperson for the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport. However, rising fuel prices have prompted transport operators to demand fare adjustments, even as commuters welcome the safety-focused initiatives. We'll see more on this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Meanwhile, the United States says it has rescued a missing airman after his F-15 fighter jet was shot down inside Iran, bringing a key moment of the 6-week conflict under control. President Donald Trump confirmed the crew member is safe and sound following a search and rescue operation, though Iran claims it destroyed 3 U.S. aircraft involved in the mission. The incident comes amid heightened tensions, with Washington and its allies warning Tehran over the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, in a separate escalation, drone strikes reportedly launched from Iran have damaged government ministry buildings in Kuwait City, forcing closures and remote work for staff. Authorities in Kuwait say no casualties were reported, but investigations are underway as regional security concerns continue to intensify. FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation have warned Nepal's All Nepal Football Association to hold its election within 7 days or face a suspension. In a joint letter to General Secretary Kiran Rai, the bodies instructed ANFA to immediately restart and complete the electoral process. Failure to comply could see Nepal barred from international competitions and cut off from development funding and global football engagement. The warning follows ANFA's earlier suspension by the National Sports Council over attempts to conduct elections without proper approval. The Nepal's government's 100-point action plan is prioritizing transport safety with measures like CCTV in public vehicles, women-only blue bus services, and mandatory SOS features in ride-sharing apps. While the rising fuel prices have prompted transport operators to demand fare adjustments, the commuters welcome the safety-focused initiatives. We explored this and more in our Issue of the Day after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now on to our issue of the day. The government's 100-day action plan has placed transport safety at the forefront, introducing measures such as CCTV installation in public vehicles, women-only blue bus services, and SOS features in ride-sharing apps to enhance passenger security. The reforms come as rising fuel prices fuel fresh demands from transport operators for fare revisions, underscoring tensions between affordability and safety upgrades. Sabika Shrestha sheds light on this issue.
The government has prioritized transport sector reforms under its 100-day action plan, focusing on safety, digital monitoring, and gender-inclusive mobility. The roadmap includes mandatory installation of CCTV and dashboard cameras in public vehicles, introduction of women-only blue bus services, and integration of SOS features in ride-sharing apps to enhance passenger security. Authorities say these measures aim to modernize transport while ensuring accountability and real-time emergency response. Ramhari Pokhrel, spokesperson at the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport, said the priority is the safety and security of riders and the ministry is committed to implement the decision within the deadline.
Safety and security is the main issue. According to the 100 days action plan, the deadline for blue bus operation is given to us 90 days. We will implement it before the 90 days. We are planning and regarding the CCTV and SOS button etc. That the deadline is given to us in 30 days. We are planning to complete this action before 30 days.
The government has set April 25th deadline for the reformative measures. However, the reforms come amid rising fuel prices linked to ongoing tensions in the Middle East, increasing pressure on transport operators. The transport entrepreneurs have begun demanding fare adjustments, citing higher operational costs. Commuters, meanwhile, are elated, stating that safety comes first, not only for ladies but all.
नीलो बस को कुरा त्यो राम्रै कुरा हो, हुन त राम्रै कुरा हो, तर महिलाको लागि मात्र किन? यो देशको नागरिक हामी हैनौ, हामी पनि यो देशको नागरिक हो, हाम्रो लागि के सुविधा? हामी भोट बैंक मात्र बन्ने त? उहाँको लागि गाडी ठीक छ, उहाँले प्राइभेट के भन्छ नीलो बस दियो हैन, गर्ल्सको लागि, बोइजको लागि के? यतिकै हैन, हामी जहिले पनि बेरोजगार मात्र बस्ने होइन नि.
Though abiding by the government decision directly pertains to the operators, public transportation drivers are also equally responsible.
भाडा त अब बढ्नु पर्ने हो, बढाएन के भन्नु त खै यस्तै अब चलिरहन्छ. भाडा बढाइदिए त हुन्थ्यो, अब अहिले साउलाई पनि दिनु सकेको छैन, तेल हाल्नै धौधौ भइरहेछ अहिले यो स्थितिमा. सीसी क्यामेरा त कम्पनीले हाल्ने हो, हाल्ने नहाल्ने समितिको कुरा हो. अब मान्छे भनेको त अब सिटफुल मात्र भन्ने त असम्भव हुन्छ. अफिस टाइमतिर त जसरी नै मान्छे उभिहाल्छ, त्यो त असम्भव कुरा हो.
The government's plan signals a push towards safer and more inclusive public transport, though challenges remain in execution and cost management. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
If you use ride-sharing services to get around, now you can be rest assured of your security as your smartphone just became your safety shield. The government of Nepal has issued a new rule. By April 25th, every ride-sharing app must have a live SOS button linked directly to Nepal Police. One tap now sends your exact GPS location and driver's detail to the police instantly. Subeksha Rajak explains more.
If you are one of the millions navigating the streets via ride-sharing services, your safety just got a massive digital upgrade. Under the government of Nepal's 100-point agenda for governance reform, a landmark safety rule is now in effect. Initiated by the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport, this isn't just another policy, it's a direct response to ensure commuters' safety. The ministry has set a strict deadline by April 25, 2026. Every ride-sharing platform must have a fully functional SOS button. This isn't just a call button, it's a digital bridge to Nepal Police Control Room. In a high-stress situation, you might not be able to speak, or you might not know exactly where you are. That's when you hit the SOS button. With the new SOS feature rule, the moment you tap that red shield, a digital package is instantly sent to the police. Number 1, your live GPS location pinpointed in real time on the map. Number 2, vehicle details, the license plate and car or bike model. Number 3, the identity, both your name and the driver's name. Unlike a standard 100 call, this is a silent alert. It allows the authorities to intercept the vehicle with precision. Whether you are a passenger facing harassment or a driver facing a potential robbery. Nepal is now aligning the existing ride-sharing services with global giants like Uber and Lyft. While international standards use AI to detect if the vehicle goes off-route, Nepal's reform focuses on the direct police API link. Whether you use Pathao, nDrive or Yango, the sync is happening right now. Pathao is upgrading its 24/7 response team. nDrive and Yango are reinforcing the data transmission. Check your App Store or Play Store today and update the ride-sharing apps with the latest safety patches. We hope you never have to use that button, but in a moment of crisis, it's the most powerful tool you own.
In this context, we asked the commuters how safe do they feel while using public transportation and ride-sharing apps. Let's have a look at what they had to say.
Regarding the safety, the government has implemented certain rules like a reservation for women. They are not followed by the people. Even the conductors, they don't behave nicely. Like they put people as if they are materials sitting in a bus. There are rules like putting CCTV camera by the government, but I can't see them implemented in the bus as well.
Safe feel नै हुन्छ अब उहाँहरुले जुन लोकेसनमै पुर्याइदिनु हुन्छ नि त यहाँबाट जुन लोकेसन भनेको त्यही लोकेसनमा झार्दिनु हुन्छ सेफ नै फिल भइराछ मलाई चाहिँ
कति चाहिँ ड्राइभरहरुले इनड्राइभरहरु चलाउने ड्राइभर दाइहरुले केयरलेस तरिकाले ड्राइभ गर्नुहुन्छ ओभर स्पिड गर्नुहुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ अलिक रिस्की हो अनि कति चाहिँ महिलाहरुले इन्सेक्योर फिल गर्नुहुन्छ अनि त्यो नाइट टाइममा राइडहरु गर्दा बाइकहरु अलिक महिलाहरुको लागि अनसेफ्टी जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
सार्वजनिक गाडी चढिन्छ अब नाइटको टाइममा त हामी भन्दा नि लेडिजहरुलाई अलि धेरै अप्ठ्यारो हुने गर्छ त्यही भएर त्यसमा सुधार गर्नुपर्ने अलि ड्राइभरहरुले नि खै अलि केयरलेस तरिकाले गर्नुहुन्छ कुनै त्यही भएर सेफ्टीको लागि त के भन्नु अलि सुधार गर्नु पर्ला जस्तो छ
सेफ त अब हरेक हेरेर हुन्छ गाडीहरु हेरेर हुन्छ अब ड्राइभर हेरेर हुन्छ त्यहाँको पर्सनल हेरेर हुन्छ अब को चाहिँ नि कस्तो छ भन्ने अब बुझिदैन नि त अब कोही अब घचाडेर बस्ने हुन्छन् कोही अब आफै सेफली अलग्ग बस्ने हुन्छन् त्यति धेरै सेफ चाहिँ नि छैन नै
यहाँ त जे होस् ठिकै छ अब अर्कोतिर काठमाडौँ भ्याली भन्दा बाहिर त लास्टै गाह्रो हुन्छ अनि मान्छेहरु अनएजुकेटेडको कारणले गर्दा जस्तो मिसबिहेभ गरिरहेको हुन्छ नि 10 बजे पुग्नुको ठाउँमा 11 बजिहाल्छ बाटोमै अब के गर्नु यसमा ब्लू बस चाहिँ सञ्चालन गर्नु भएको छ त्यो त धेरै राम्रो कुरा हो यो अब सहज हुन्छ हामीलाई मिसबिहेभ पनि हुँदैन सेफ पनि फिल हुन्छ त्यसमा
बसहरुमा चाहिँ सिटमा मात्रै मान्छे बसाल्ने अरु चाहिँ बागी उभिनु चाहिँ नपरोस् जस्तो लाग्छ
बसतिर पनि त्यस्तो खासै सजिलो चाहिँ लाग्दैन त्यही पनि अब जरुरत परेको बेला चाहिँ कहिलेकाहीँ हिँड्नु पर्छ त्यही भएर हो त्यस्तो खासै सेफ चाहिँ लाग्दैन
Public buses they are also safe until it is evening so during evening like there are some random boys who are in the bus and they try to disturb public like us.
And that wraps up our Issue of the Day segment. Now we move on to our cover story of the day. Nepal government has announced a reinstatement of Saturday and Sunday as public holiday starting April 6 for all government offices and educational institutions. We delve deeper into the reactions ignited by this decision in our cover story of the day after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now on to our cover story segment. Nepal government has officially reinstated the 2-day weekly holiday. Starting this Monday, April 6, 2026, all government offices and educational institutions will remain closed on Saturdays and Sundays. While the executive decision is framed as a strategic necessity to preserve dwindling foreign exchange reserves, it has reignited a debate on productivity versus conservation. Shivani Thapa brings a report.
Kathmandu's streets are as crowded as ever, but the fuel powering them is becoming a luxury the state can ill afford. Today, the Council of Ministers pulled a familiar lever, the Sunday holiday. The Council of Ministers, led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah, finalized the decision during a Sunday session at Singhadarbar, the government's administrative headquarters. Government spokesperson Minister Sashmit Pokhrel confirmed that the primary driver is the disruption of global energy trades following the virtual closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
पेट्रोलियम आपूर्तिमा उत्पन्न असहजताका कारण 82 चैत 23 गतेबाट लागू हुने गरी सरकारी कार्यालय तथा सम्पूर्ण शैक्षिक संस्थाहरूमा शनिबार र आइतबार बिदा दिने तथा शैक्षिक संस्था बाहेक उल्लेखित कार्यालयहरूको कार्यालय समय 9 देखि 5 बजे कायम गर्ने.
The government spokesperson confirmed that reducing the movement of state-owned vehicles and school buses by just one day could slash consumption by up to 20%. Former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai was quick to lend his weight behind the move. Dr. Bhattarai noted that his own administration had envisioned this shift years ago. According to Dr. Bhattarai, the extended daily hours ensure that total working time is not lost, but rather concentrated for better output per hour and familial peace. But on the digital front, the general happiness is tempered by skepticism. Critics point to the failed experiment of 2 decades ago and most recently in 2022, when a similar trial was scrapped after a few months due to plummeting service delivery standards. Economists are raising the alarm too. Netizens, meanwhile, are asking if the government couldn't provide efficient service in 6 days, how will they manage in 5? Others, however, are welcoming the global standard, noting that aligning Nepal's weekend with the international Sunday closure will streamline international trade and diplomatic communications. To complement the holiday, the cabinet has also fast-tracked legal frameworks to convert existing petrol and diesel government vehicles into electric vehicles. With petrol prices hitting an all-time high of 202 rupees per litre in Kathmandu, the government is betting that this weekend shock will accelerate the nation's transition toward energy independence. As the first Sunday holiday kicks in this weekend, all eyes will be on the Nepal Oil Corporation's balance sheets and the public's patience. Shivani Thapa Bosnet, NTV World.
That concludes our cover story of the day. On to the remaining updates now. Kathmandu District Court has granted police an additional 5 days to keep former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak in custody. The extension was approved by a bench led by Judge Jagat Bahadur Paudel, according to Court Information Officer Deepak Kumar Shrestha. Both have already recorded their statements in connection with the homicide-related investigation, while police say further evidence collection is ongoing. Arrested on March 28, the duo are now on their 3rd remand extension, following an initial 5-day and a subsequent 2-day extension. They have also filed a habeas corpus petition at the Supreme Court, alleging unlawful detention, with the case heard on Sunday and kept pending for further review. Election Commission Nepal has resumed voter registration, which had been suspended since November 22 due to the House of Representatives elections. Citizens with a national identity card number can now register online from home through the Commission's website without visiting an office for biometric verification. Those without an ID card must fill out an online form but still need to visit election offices in person to provide biometric details. The system has now been integrated with the National Identity Card, removing the previous requirement for physical presence. The Commission has also enabled online services to correct errors, update records, remove duplicate entries, and transfer voting locations. Nepal police have arrested 226 people in a 4-day nationwide crackdown targeting illegal activities, including hooliganism, illegal brokering, and indecent behavior. Police spokesperson Deputy Inspector General Abhinarayan Kafle said the operation launched on April 1 led to arrests across multiple provinces, with the highest number in Kathmandu Valley. According to police headquarters, dozens were detained each day through April 4 as part of intensified enforcement efforts. Authorities say legal action has been initiated against those arrested, and the campaign will continue. Kali Gandaki River, home to the sacred Shaligram stones and of deep religious significance, is facing severe pollution due to plastic waste from nearby markets and riverside settlements. For the past 2 years, youth activists from the Gandaki River Basin have been running a campaign to make the river plastic-free, with parts of the river showing signs of improvement. The campaign has also raised local awareness about waste management and the importance of preserving the river's biodiversity. Experts stress that long-term protection of the Kali Gandaki will require strong policies and coordinated investment from local, provincial, and federal governments. Activists remain committed to safeguarding the river's purity for the future generations. Unbelievable but true. 2 generations of a family lived their entire life in a cave in Nepal's central Thading district. Deprived of the basic fundamental rights guaranteed by the state, this Chapang family finally received the citizenship certificate. Having lived in a cave for decades, getting the state recognition was a moment to cherish for not just the family but the local administrators as well. Rojina Rai, with our local correspondent Shiva Silwal, brings the issue.
Article 10 of Nepal's constitution guarantees that no citizen shall be deprived of the right to obtain citizenship, while Article 37 ensures every citizen's right to housing. However, Istaram Praja and his wife, member of the Chepang community, were unable to exercise these rights even in their old age. They have now finally obtained citizenship certificates. Due to lack of citizenship, they were deprived of government social security benefits and formal inclusion. The couple had been living in a cave near the forest of Maibang in Thading district for 2 generations. Officials from the district administration office, Thading, delivered the documents at the cave where Praja and his family of 4 have been living. Although they were entitled to citizenship by descent, the couple remained without official documentation throughout their lives until now. The ward chairperson stated that the process of enrolling them in the Social Security Allowance scheme will begin soon.
अतीत सीमाङ्कित चेपाङको चाहिँ महाभारत लेखमै कुनाकोमा आएर नागरिकता वितरण गरिदिनु भयो र उहाँलाई चाहिँ राज्यले दिने सेवा सुविधामा म भोलि नै सिफारिस फलो गरिहाल्छु मलाई कुनै पनि वञ्चित गर्दैनौ.
Following the issuance of their citizenship certificates, they have also completed the necessary steps to obtain national identity cards and the opening of bank account. Like this Chepang couple, many members of marginalized communities across Nepal have not received the state recognition. It continues to act as a barrier to accessing key social, economic, and political rights, as well as to social inclusion and shared national identity. Rosina Rai with Siva Silwal from Thading, reporting for NTV World.
Time for more from the international front, but before that, let's have a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal government declares 2-day public holiday starting April 6, decides on electric vehicle push and new academic session. Dol Prasad Aryal sworn in as Nepal's new House Speaker. Elected unopposed, Aryal assumes office today itself. Nepal shuts down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites. Authorities warn of strict action as part of governance reform drive. Government rolls out 100-day transport safety plan. Various safety features to boost passenger security amid rising fuel cost. U.S. rescues downed airman in Iran amid ongoing conflict. Drone strikes hit Kuwait as regional tensions escalate. And FIFA AFC warn UNFA to hold elections within 7 days. Suspension could bar Nepal from international football and funding access. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says she discussed how to help stop the escalation as she concluded a visit to the Gulf, in which she became the first European Union or NATO leader to visit the region since the start of the conflict with Iran. During the trip, Meloni visited Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, saying she aimed to bolster Italy's energy security and strategic ties.
Credo che per l'Italia sia importante in una fase così difficile essere presente nei luoghi dove si decide una parte fondamentale della nostra sicurezza e anche del nostro futuro economico. Questa missione è la prima di un leader europeo nel Golfo dall'inizio di questa nuova fase del conflitto, ma chiaramente non è una visita semplicemente simbolica.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that his country will expand its security cooperation with Turkey. Zelensky announced after meeting Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul that the two sides had taken new steps in security cooperation and that teams would soon finalize the details. According to the Ukrainian president, this cooperation will particularly include areas such as expertise, technology, and Ukraine's wartime experience to support Turkey. Erdogan also said at the meeting that Turkey will continue to support peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. He also stressed that Turkey attaches great importance to maritime security in the Black Sea and to energy supply. The meeting comes as Ukraine has recently signed security cooperation agreements with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, and is in talks on similar arrangements with other Middle Eastern countries. Hundreds of demonstrators marched through Paris in a march for a noisy spring, protesting the decline of birds and insects and the widespread use of pesticides. Organized as a musical demonstration, the event aimed to draw attention to what environmental groups describe as a growing ecological and public health crisis. Leo Tibers called the collapse of wildlife populations one of the greatest health and environmental scandals of our time, citing its broader impact on ecosystems and human well-being. The protest reflects increasing concern in France and across Europe over pesticide use, biodiversity loss, and the urgent need for stronger environmental protections. Around 2,000 residents in San Salvador have created a huge 1,070-meter-long colored carpet made of dyed salt for the Good Friday funeral processions, in what organizers describe as the largest installation of its kind in Central America. Known as the Mega Carpet of San Salvador, the artwork was constructed using approximately 800 quintals of salt, carefully dyed in more than 150 different colors. The intricate display is designed to be walked over during the religious procession, a central tradition of Holy Week observances in the predominantly Catholic country. According to Percio Medina, coordinator at the Secretariat of Culture of the Capital District, the scale and coordination involved make it a record-setting cultural event for the region. Authorities say the initiative highlights both religious devotion and community participation, while also drawing local and international visitors, reinforcing the cultural significance of Holy Week celebrations across El Salvador. The Artemis second astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, are now closer to the moon than to Earth. Manager for NASA's Space Launch System program, John Honeycutt, said that the astronauts have captured an image of previously unseen features on the moon's surface, highlighting that the far left of the photograph showed areas never before observed by human eyes.
As you heard yesterday, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy are now closer to the moon than they are to Earth. I can tell you they've been incredibly busy. I know you've been watching coverage of the mission. I think you'll agree. It looks like they're really enjoying their work, and I can tell that in their voice. So they took this image yesterday. On the far left, you can see features of the moon that have never been seen by human eyes. Until yesterday, only robotic imagers have seen this region of the moon.
Springtime flower viewing tours are emerging as a major attraction across China ahead of this year's Qingming Festival, with cities and rural destinations rolling out cultural performances, interactive travel services, and countryside experiences to lure visitors and boost the tourism economy. Falling on April 5 this year, the Qingming Festival, or Tom Sweeping Day, is a traditional Chinese festival for honoring the deceased and paying tributes to ancestors. The 3-day holiday also provides a short break for Chinese citizens to enjoy outdoor activities and sightseeing in pleasant springtime temperatures. In North China's Tianjin municipality, both locals and tourists from other parts of the country have gathered for a begonia flower festival running till April 12, which features 123 performances throughout the event. Officials have also introduced new efforts to integrate culture, tourism, and commerce. Business news coming up next. For now, a short break.
Nepal's Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has started enlisting farmers after a gap of 5 months. The ministry has urged farmers to register their names at the relevant local level. After being enlisted, farmers are provided with various services and subsidies along with identity cards. Chemical fertilizers, seeds, subsidies, service management, and benefits are provided to the listed farmers. The system has been coordinated with local levels across the country to identify real farmers and collect and record integrated data, including the area of land cultivated by the farmers, the produce produced, and other details. According to the Agriculture Census 2078, out of 4.1 million farmers, 2.3 million farmers have been enlisted so far, according to the ministry. The Agriculture Information and Training Center under the ministry has also urged farmers to register their names at the relevant local level. Amid the ongoing US-Israeli war with Iran, Gulf oil producers are shifting oil flows to pipelines and tanker trucks that bypass the Strait of Hormuz, a key choke point for global energy supplies. The Strait of Hormuz, which once saw around 130 vessels passing daily, now has approximately 20,000 seafarers stranded, around 2,000 ships in its waters, according to the International Maritime Organization. Lloyd's List Intelligence, a maritime data and intelligence company, revealed that only 292 ships transited the strait between February 28 and March 31, with 71% of them being either owned by or affiliated with Iran. Saudi Arabia is maximizing the use of the East-West pipeline, which has a capacity of nearly 7 million barrels per day and allows the country's oil exports to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Also known as the Petroline, the over 1,200 kilometers long pipeline was originally built in the 1980s and terminates at the Yanbu port in the Red Sea. A number of tanker fleets have been relocated to the Yanbu port for oil loading, providing a vital lifeline for global oil supply. The daily crude oil exports through Yanbu have reached approximately 5 million barrels, and Saudi Arabia also exports between 700,000 and 900,000 barrels of refined oil per day. Poland remains one of Europe's leading producers of silver and copper, accounting for an estimated 40 to 50% of the continent's output of the metal, often referred to as red gold. This comes as a recent report by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Projects that global demand for copper could rise by more than 40% by 2040. To meet this surge, the report estimates that up to 80 new mining projects may need to be developed worldwide, requiring investments of around $250 billion by 2030. It is pointed that copper's growing strategic importance, driven by its critical role in renewable energy systems, electric vehicles, and global electrification efforts. However, it is warned that without significant expansion in supply, shortages could disrupt energy transitions and industrial production. Vietnam's GDP in the first quarter is estimated to have grown 7.83% year-on-year, according to data released this morning by the National Statistics Office. The economy also demonstrated several bright spots. In Q1, total import-export turnover exceeded $249 billion, up to 23% compared to the same period last year. International arrivals to Vietnam reached 6.76 million, an increase of 12.4% year-on-year, marking the highest first-quarter figure on record. Nationwide, more than 57,400 new enterprises were registered, with total registered capital of approximately $22 billion, indicating a strong increase compared to the same period last year.
Time now for sports update. Lumbini Province defeated Nepal Police Club by 50 runs in a high-scoring match of the ongoing PM Cup, posting 256 runs before restricting the Police Club to 206 in 42.5 overs. In another encounter, Sudur Paschim Province crushed Bagmati Province by 163 runs, scoring 209 runs and dismissing Bagmati for just 46 in 11.2 overs. The results highlight the dominance of provincial teams in this year's tournament and the high level of competitive cricket in Nepal. Players from Lumbini and Sudur Paschim displayed aggressive batting and disciplined bowling to secure comfortable wins. The PM Cup continues to provide a platform for emerging talent and competitive cricket across the country. University of Cambridge secured a fourth consecutive victory over University of Oxford in the 171st The Boat Race held on River Thames in London. The latest result extends Cambridge's dominance in the historic contest, marking their 7th win in the last 8 editions of the race, one of the oldest sporting rivalries dating back to 1829. Race officials noted particularly challenging conditions on the tideway course, with strong currents and difficult weather impacting performance. Cambridge captain Noah Mole described them as among the toughest in recent years, saying the victory under such circumstances made the result especially significant. The annual race continues to draw global attention, showcasing elite rowing talent and preserving a long-standing sporting tradition between the two institutions. Now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. Well, this brings us to the end of this news bulletin, but before we wrap up, a reminder of our headlines. Nepal government declares two-day public holiday starting April 6, decides on electric vehicle push and new academic session. Dol Prasad Aryal sworn in as Nepal's new House Speaker. Elected unopposed, Aryal assumes office today itself. Nepal shuts down over 7,000 online gambling apps and websites. Authorities warn of strict action as part of governance reform drive. Government rolls out 100-day transport safety plan. Various safety features to boost passenger security amid rising fuel cost. U.S. rescues downed airman in Iran amid ongoing conflict. Drone strikes hit Kuwait as regional tensions escalate. And FIFA AFC warned UNFA to hold elections within 7 days. Suspension could bar Nepal from international football and funding access. That is it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. I am Bishata Bhandari. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.